Swanny has just said he's going to have to try and avoid using the word pussy too much.
He's not shagged pussy yet. I hate that phrase.
Kind of guy that you would go into the bathroom afterwards and the seat would be fucking boiling.
it's villains beat all over again,
Yeah.
man. Are you an idiot? This isn't the right accent.
Bond. James Bond.
Hi everyone, this is the Sorry I Don't podcast. I'm Abby.
I'm Claude.
And I'm Swanny.
Today we are going to be reviewing Goldfinger, James Bond film.
Yeah, so Goldfinger released. Here we are. Got my own little DVD. I've bought my memorabilia just to really get in the mood. The mood and the mood. So yeah, Goldfinger released in 1964, the third James Bond film to be released. And as some of you may or may not know, Bond being the longest running film franchise continuously in film history, for over 60 years now. Yeah, is my math right? My maths is right. It's about 61 years, I believe, 62, give or take. But yeah, third Bond film, and this is one that is often regarded as the more iconic of the earlier ones. This is the one that really set the benchmark, the standard, and the kind of the tropes, the plots, everything got brought together in quite a good little way, or did it?
Swanny, what did...
Yes.
I'll be the one to ask this time. What did Bond mean to you growing up?
Bond mean to me? Well, look, I was a boy growing up, obviously. And as such, Bond was very much kind of like my entryway in a lot of ways into films in general. Mm-hmm. Like, I just loved it. I just loved just the bombast of it all, like how like immediate it was, and just it's plot lines filled with, evil spies, good spies, bombs, villains, like strange contraptions, high action, all this kind of stuff. Because my grandparents loved Bond as well. My grandpa, particularly my mum's dad, he loved Roger Moore. So that's the second Bond that comes like after Sean Connery, and they're a bit more silly, a bit more campy. So like a lot of my grandpa's humour I got through that. Whereas my dad's dad, he loved the Sean Connery ones more. So I got more of that kind of masculine bravado and the, just the daringness and silliness that he brings, while still trying to pretend to be serious, which I think encapsulates my papa really well, because he seems like a serious guy, and then he's just taking the piss, which is quite good. So Goldfinger for that was always one that I really honed in on, because it was, Goldfinger, what a name. That's a very evocative title. And yeah, I grew up watching them. I've had this book here since 1999.
Wow.
I got given this when I was 6 years old.
It's the same age as Claude.
Year I was born?
Yeah, I was 6. I was obsessed with James Bond. And I've kind of always been, like, I don't view it as like my favourite bunch of films anymore, like I used to when I was a kid. But they still have a place in my heart as this kind of hokey, wild, it's like a fantasy in some ways. There's just something so pulpy and accessible about them. And as a young boy, there was nothing better than stick on a Bond film. I used to play games recreating Bond films, playing different villains. It was fantastic. So I clearly have a unbiased opinion and take on the Bond films.
Bond is to you what Twilight is to me.
Yes, that's probably a very succinct way. I should have just said that. Yeah, you guys weren't as well in tune. What was your kind of thoughts towards Bond films before doing all this?
I had only really seen bits of Bond films. Never really seen full ones. The only full Bond films I've seen, there was one other one, I can't remember what it was. It was another Daniel Craig one, but I went to go and see Skyfall in the cinema. I enjoyed that a lot. Especially the kind of inclusion of the Scottish setting and stuff.
Oh, brilliant!
Like
yeah.
Oh, and I've seen the most recent one as well.
Oh,
what's the most recent?
No Time to Die?
I've seen No Time to Die.
Did you like No Time to Die?
Oh, I thought Spectre was the most recent one.
I
It was just before.
I didn't love No Time to Die.
Okay, fair.
It just felt a bit long and a bit silly. But the thing is, I just didn't have a great notion of what Bond films were like from seeing snippets of the more recent ones. Kind of like old superhero films, like the old Batmans and old Supermans. They've all had a very similar progression in the way that they used to be hokey and ridiculous, and now like Batman's super serious.
Yeah, it's taken seriously now, yeah.
Yeah, and like super emo and stuff like that. Feels like James Bond has like gone through that same journey.
Oh, totally.
So, which isn't a film for me. I don't really like it. I don't love it. But old Bond films, hokey, ridiculous, it was so good. Very enjoyable, super ridiculous. I wasn't cringing at it because it was taking itself too seriously. It was just as it was. And like you were explaining, because we all watched it together, it kind of paved the way for this sort of film, these kind of tropes and things like that, which I enjoyed a lot as well. Just like, for example, the kind of inclusion of the ejector seat, which I imagine is like the first time that's ever been in anything, I guess.
And it's so fucking
Very,
shite.
very Looney Tunes.
It's the most Looney Tunes thing. And it's just such a long shot as well. It's almost like off to the side. And
Yeah, it's so like the
Okay.
trajectory is
Right, guys.
not what I was expecting from an ejector seat.
You think, no.
It just sort of spits him out, sort of dribbles him over the edge of the car.
Out you go.
So, what do you think?
Right, so weirdly, I've come from a James Bond household, is what I would describe it as. My mother is obsessed with James Bond. Like, she's had James Bond themed birthday parties, and like, there's just places in our house where 007 is written or shows up. And
Are you just hanging
throughout
out?
our life, like, no, I mean like the numbers 007.
Right, sorry.
So
Like,
The actual guy.
your stepdad just dressed up as
about.
Bond.
No,
And you're like,
no.
I don't like this.
So it's like one of those things where I always think I've seen Bond films, and then I actually sit and think about it, and I'm actually quite similar to you. I always say like the one Bond film I've seen like fully start to finish of the older ones is Moonraker.
Oh my God.
Because it was just on. Like my mum's got
what
the
a
box
great
set, so
entry
they're
point.
always just on like on repeat kind of thing in the house. I think I watched Moonraker once, and I can't remember any of it. Is there like a sex scene in It's Like Zero Gravity?
Yes.
Okay, well I remember that.
Of course there is.
Shall we deep dive into
yes,
the plot?
yes, of
Oh.
course.
Goldfinger.
Okay, so
Right.
Gold thumb, as I like to call him.
Gold fist, man. He's just have a fucking big ham.
So, to help with this, I've brought my book.
Right.
Very, very succinctly done.
Okay.
Very succinctly done. And I've got my things to go along. Because you were saying to me, make it succinct, Swanny. And I went, what's more succinct than 4 paragraphs written by someone who got paid to do it?
course, of course.
Opening scene, the cold open. This is actually the first time that a Bond film has done a cold open that's unrelated completely to the rest of the plot.
Wait, okay, because I genuinely just thought that I had so that hasn't got anything to do
That
with
has got
anything else.
nothing. The opening sequence before the title credits has got nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the plot.
What?
And that's the first time every Bond film does that.
Like, I understand the
Fair
purpose
enough.
of a cold open, but that was just like,
Yeah.
he's swimming about with a duck on his head. And then he, do you think that's all, like, that whole thing is there just to make the shocking pun?
Oh yeah, it's to set up how it's to set up how he kills Oddjob later on. But it's also it's to orientate him, because a lot of times Bond films will start, or the books will start with, they'll start with Bond he's on holiday or recovering from his last mission,
Right.
and then things just happen. So this one does a lead in. He finishes a little mission, so then we know he's in America or can get to the Americas afterwards. Whoops. So this one's in South America,
Yeah.
and Bond is basically he makes references to it's a heroin bananas. So it's implied that it's a heroin plant that he's destroying and taking out a drug smuggling operation
Yeah,
at the start.
because
Oh yeah, because he blows up a bar at the beginning.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, right.
That was
Just-
completely unrelated to the
That's
entire plot.
completely unrelated to the rest of the plot.
What
it has
the
nothing to do with
fuck?
anything.
Yeah.
The thing is, as well, I was like, oh my God, like, this is obviously one of those films where you need to have seen the ones before it, because I was like, why the fuck is this Barbie blown up? And then why the fuck is Bond just walked into his hotel room and started wenching this woman that we don't know? And I thought that was like, there's supposed to be some context to that, but apparently that is just Bond's audacity.
Yeah, that's
He would
Bond's
just walk
audacity.
into a room and just wench someone.
Yeah, because
So there's not, we don't
No.
need, that's it.
That's it. So
There's no context to
this
that.
actually I'm going as we go through this. I'll point out the tropes that this sets up, and that's
Right.
one of the first tropes that most Bond films have. They always have a cold open where you see the tail end of a mission, the climax of another mission that we've not seen any more of, and it just establishes Bond as A, capable, B, sexy, and C, I guess witty. Do you know what I mean? It establishes all those 3 things.
Yeah.
And it's happened in every single Bond film since that there's an unrelated opening in some way.
Yeah, it's just.
Near enough.
I mean, I guess that would have been the first time they ever did that, but
Yeah.
it was just.
So
like,
you must have been, you actually, both of you got the very rare experience of feeling exactly as the audience will have felt in 1964. seeing
Yeah,
that movie.
exactly.
What, did I miss it? Shit, is this a sequel? Wait, what?
Yeah, but in 1964, it was probably less egregious that Bond just walked in and there was like a half-naked woman, and he's like, I assume she's here for me.
Right.
Not like, has
Okay,
this woman
okay,
gotten
so this is the
lost?
bit that we're hung up on.
I
We're hung
walked
up on
into
this
the
bit.
wrong hotel room. Like, I feel like if I walked into any room of any kind that I thought I was meant to be in, and there was like a half-naked person standing there, I would be like, I've got this wrong. This is the men's bathroom. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just mad. I'm not going to argue about like, oh, it's the times and things. I understand why it is the way that it is, but it's just so like in a modern context, so funny that
it's
he just
hilarious.
walks into this room.
So, for some, okay, when we were talking about this thing, I thought the hang up was more that he's on a mission and we don't understand. That's maybe what yours was, but your hang up seems to be he's just walking into this.
Yeah, I
this
thought we were
room.
meant to know who that was.
Who that woman was, right?
Like-
So, in the
It was like his missus or his wife or something.
no, I think
And
It's
was
like,
okay,
girlfriend.
yeah,
That's
it's
the
comfortable enough that she'll climb out the back.
Everyone is Bond's missus. That's the thing. Everyone could be Bond's missus. That's what the films try and convey, right?
I mean, to be fair, if you're ever going to pick someone to try and like create that aura about, Sean Connery is a top pick.
Top
like,
pick.
let's
Absolutely
be serious
Yeah,
here.
no, he was so successful that, and we've not even mentioned the author of the books, Ian Fleming, who obviously wrote them. Englishman. He was a former Secret Service agent during World War II. Blah blah blah. Based a lot of it on his own exploits, and obviously overhyped it and his own wacky view of the world, which we'll get into. But he always saw Bond as a quintessential Englishman, and so when Sean Connery was cast, he was like, "No, this is wrong. This is wrong." Until he saw him in Doctor No, and then he went, "Oh no." That's perfect. So then he rewrote a backstory that Bond was actually Scottish.
So Bond is meant to be Scottish.
He's meant to have Scottish origins.
Oh, right, okay.
And 'cause
I was
he's
gonna
always
say,
an
like, he
orphan.
doesn't sound Scottish.
He's always an orphan. He's always an orphan who gets raised in Oxford, but the idea is that his family, the Bond estate, is up in Scotland, and that's how.
That's why he goes to Scotland in Skyfall.
Yeah, I figured that actually, but then I was just like, well, Daniel Craig's not Scottish. Sean Connery.
Sean.
That's going to keep.
Moving on. This is gonna keep. Gonna keep. Right. Okay. Right.
I'm not losing my point now, apparently.
Do you want to make your point? Do you want to make your point?
I can't remember.
Okay. If it comes back to you, throw it in. So, what was I saying?
Moving on with the plot.
Yeah, moving on with the plot. Yeah, so just that woman, I think it's not just a woman who's there for him to sleep with, because it starts off as that, and then Bond, we see, the audience sees there's someone behind the door with a truncheon coming to get Bond, and it's clearly a setup. They put a beautiful woman in the room to throw him off. He's like, I'm gonna
It's
get
so
involved.
cartoonish. It's like leaving cheese in a mousetrap. Like,
Bond villains are not
you feel
smart.
like you'd be slightly more trepidatious though about.
You have a gun. But at least just come out the door and go.
You're a spy. You're sexy. Like, women are your Achilles heel. You walk into a room and there's a random naked woman there, and your first thought isn't like,
Oh, a woman.
let's take pause.
Yeah, no,
Let's
no,
take
definitely.
stock of the room.
But if you
This
notice,
seems suspicious. Like,
it's very suspicious. But if you notice, this happens a few times with women
Yeah.
that he meets in this film. So I guess there is an argument that Bond, in the course of this film, learns that women will be used against him and that women will get hurt by him
and
inadvertently.
60 years later,
I don't think he learns
Does
it.
he learn
I think he experiences it.
He experiences it. I think that
he
he's just,
experiences a
I think
lesson.
he's
He
just
doesn't
okay
learn it.
with it.
that's the tagline for this whole fucking film. Bond doesn't save the world. Bond experiences the world's peril.
He experiences it. Yes, fine.
Every film he's in.
He just bears witness to
bears
everything.
witness.
Bears witness and shags about.
He is just there.
Yeah. So we'll go
To look pretty.
into exactly the agency that Bond employs to the actual solving of this plot as we go along.
Yeah.
But yeah, as he's kissing this woman, coming out of the bathtub, the guy comes behind him with a truncheon, and then we have this really ridiculous moment where Bond sees the guy in the reflection of her eyes. And then he spins her around. She gets hit instead. She falls away, and he starts grappling with the guy. The guy falls into the bathtub, starts reaching for Bond's gun in the holster, and then Bond, in an iconic way, leaps forward, barrels into a chair, and knocks an electric heater or fan into the bathtub, electrocuting the guy.
By the way, see that holster? It's like a pair of suspenders, but
Yeah.
it's also a holster, and it's so skinny.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
we
what-
skinny.
It just looks so shite.
It's
just
the
looks-
gentleman's holster.
It just looks so uncool. I used to go out with a guy who wore a holster like that, just about.
Oh, no. Goodness gracious.
Was anything in it? Like fucking sunglasses or something?
Nope, just
An empty holster?
just like a wee like over the shoulder.
That was fucking prophetic.
holster.
Yeah. So,
Guess who?
I kind of want to wear a holster now. I might if you're doing another Bond film, I might just rip
Mate.
this off and be like, holstered up. Oh, holstered up?
I don't. I
You're gonna
don't.
get
Sorry, I
sacked.
don't. I don't think that should happen.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see. He gets his tussle. He then throws the electric heater into the
Guy dies.
Guy dies.
Yeah.
His wee lame holster on, puts it on, and then he says, shocking. Positively shocking. Shuts the door. Bow, bow, wow, wow. We get the opening titles. And this is another trope. Yeah.
That was a fucking big bottle of shocking.
A wee
That was
bit. It was a wee.
positively shocking.
Hey, fuck you. So, okay, I'm obviously excited. But yeah, so this is actually the first time that we have a full-length title sequence for a
Yeah.
Bond theme song.
I'm not gonna lie, I quite enjoy a title sequence at the start of a film. I feel like
fucking
that's
love
a
it.
thing that's kind of overlooked now.
This again, it sets up a trope that we see in all loads of Bond films, and again, it's kind of influenced cinema in general. Like, a lot of films do start with an interesting, evocative title sequence, and as far as my research into all this was concerned, it seems like Bond was really a major popularizer. Can't even speak. A major popularizer of it. God. So, you know, we've got, and it's similar images. You know, it's like scantily clad women. It's like some sort of color symbol. There's always color symbols, so gold for this one, and yeah, it's normally like a big artist of the time who comes in. You know, you've got all sorts of artists.
This was Shirley Bassey,
This
wasn't
was
it?
Shirley Bassey, yeah, and yeah, absolutely nails it, and it's really ridiculous.
Goldfinger. Such a cold finger.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that actually what it says?
That's what it says.
That's right now.
Yeah, the man with the Midas touch.
I just love that they're like the fucking massive film, and do you know what I mean? There's just like a really easy rhyme. It's like when you read like really shit amateur poetry, and it's like the only reason that word is in there is because it rhymes with the other words,
yeah.
and it's just so many times. And the image of a cold finger, man, no one wants that. Like this is just obscene.
Yeah, no, it is a bit obscene. But that's what they go for. Goldfinger, blah, 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 blah. But great opening, very evocative, very in your face, very operatic. And then we immediately cut into sunny Miami. Bond is now in Miami.
It doesn't look like he's in Miami. It looks like he's in Benidorm.
This is my first.
It does look like he's
Like,
in Benidorm.
this immediate shot of going into Miami. This is the first time that I've noticed an extra doing the absolute fucking most, because there's like, honestly, a 0.5 second clip where Bond's walking through a hallway, and through the hallway there's a window to another room which has an ice rink in it for some reason. And then I pause and I think, how much did that cost? Like, that could have been any room. Like, that could have been a dining room or something. And then there's some fucking woman who's just getting like flung about. And like, see what I think about it. See if you go to like the fucking Glasgow Christmas lights or whatever, like, you know, in a public setting like that, like a hotel in Miami, no one is like doing a fucking, I don't know any
Pirouette.
Yeah, no, like an axle, triple, whatever the fuck. She's getting flung about. It's like the fucking Winter Olympics in here. I'm like, surely you would just be. And I was like, why is there an ice rink in this hotel in Miami? None of it makes any sense.
No.
It's a clip that lasts like this long, and it's so distracting. It's like it's Bond walking out of a room.
Again, it's just like a little thing where you're like, is this going to come up again? Is there a
I want
reason
to know
why
how
there's
much
ice
she
skating
got
going on?
paid. Like, I want to know how many times she had to do that.
Probably.
And how much money she got for that fucking performance.
Genuinely about, I wouldn't even say it's longer than 2 seconds.
She's got fucking motion sickness by the end of the day. They've shot that
I'm telling
fucking
you that now,
6
she
times.
got absolutely nothing. I don't even need to research it. She got nothing. She didn't even know the cameras were rolling. She's not even seen the film. Or she saw it and didn't know it was her. No, but this is a thing that Bond films do, especially the older ones. There's travel logs, right? So at the time when they're made, people didn't go on holiday as much. People didn't go on holiday like abroad as much. So in some ways, you hear like Albert R. Broccoli, Cubby Broccoli, in some interviews. It's the producer, the guy who's always spearheaded it, and now his daughter spearheads it, the Bond's vision from film to film. And he always talked about, oh yeah, let's take the British public, let's take the public on holiday with us. That was the idea. So I think that was probably just a real life place that had an ice skating rink, and they were like, oh, that's amazing, cool, we'll just get a wee shot of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just to add to the world that we're in.
Though. It's like we've just, it's the first, like, I think it's the first shot, and like immediately I'm like, all I can see is this woman getting fucking ragdolled in the background. Like,
No,
I'm not paying attention to Bond. I've got no interest in anything else that's happening. I just want to know more about this woman getting fucking, is she okay? Like, it looks like he just threw her.
Yeah, so it's meant to be exotic.
But for the rest of the entire film, it's just like constantly, like, there's one scene in particular which we'll get to, but there's just like all the extras are just doing the most.
The extras.
I feel as if they were just
are
running rampant, like
unfucking
no one was watching them. Do you know what I mean? They were like maybe given one bit of direction at the start of the day, like this is kind of what you do
It's
for the
like
day.
what you were saying though, they're all trying to get their show reels. So
Yeah.
like, every time they get given a slight bit of direction, they're just like, brilliant. Woo! Just like giving it absolute fucking big lick.
Fucking big licks. But yeah, so Bond is, hanging out there, travelogue Miami, and then we get a shot of before we even meet Bond, we get a shot of the most conspicuous man ever to be in a sunbathing pool area in his grey suit with his hat, walking over to Bond, and this is Felix Leiter of the CIA. This is not the first time that Felix has been in it, but it's the first time with this actor who will then go on to play him in a few other Bond films. And Felix is basically Bond's CIA counterpart throughout the entire saga. In and out, different actors have played him, and he's been used to great effect in different films. This one, he's got quite a low-key one, very low-key in some respects, which we'll get to. But he shows up, and then we get Bond, and of course Bond is lying down with a beautiful woman who is oiling his back.
Who cares? Because Bond is wearing a
Oh my God.
baby blue
Right.
towel material playsuit.
Yes, he is.
It
Height
took
of
a
60s
while
fashion.
to absolutely verify what he was wearing. But I got very excited because, this is going to sound wrong, but I got very excited because he started to zip something. He bends down, he starts to do a zip, and then it travels up, and he's wearing this. It's like big blue, powder blue collar, gold belt. This is my outfit of the film. If I could wear anything that's in this film, this is my pick. It's blue toweling material, and he starts to zip it up, and I'm like, I swear to God, he just pulled on shorts. I think this is a playsuit. Like, this is like, but like, could be from like fucking Boohoo. Like, this is like, it looks so, and this is like where Sean Connery must be the most masculine, manly man ever, because the fact that he makes this look so fucking masculine. Like, come on.
brilliant.
Like, it is absolutely obscene. It's the girliest thing I've ever seen, and I want it for myself. And I want a man that looks like that wearing that for myself.
Absolutely.
I want all of it. I want to go on holiday with
he's doing
a
that.
family.
Bond's got you.
Blue.
He's got you.
Exactly.
This is how Bond
exactly.
works.
This is where you can't really argue with it at this point. But like, this is, like, to me, this outfit is so incredible. I love that he's literally cutting about and having all these like manly espionage conversations, like being all manly. And he's
Slapping him on
wearing
his arms.
this fucking like blue toweled like place it with a big gold belt. It's
does.
like high rise as well, man. It's so girly, but I love it.
I know.
I'm into it.
It's great. It's great. And look, there is something to be said about Bond being so macho just naturally that he can get away with that, like no one else could. And it also ties into that there does seem to be a little bit of a undercutting the classical masculine trope sometimes in Bond films with the kind of, there's some, in this one especially.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
Like, really, Goldfinger is
There's
like
a lot of emasculation going on in this. A lot of boying going on in this.
a lot of emasculation, and it is an extremely feminist film at its core.
Hey, I ain't making the argument.
More so
I'll
than
take-
any other Bond film, I argue, without having seen any of
And
them.
as I say, any other Bond film that we've not watched.
So, speaking of feminist moments, we meet Dink. We meet Dink. He goes, what is it? CIA. Felix, say hello to Dink. Dink, say hello to Felix. Hi. Dink, say goodbye to Felix. What? Man talk. And then he slaps her ass, and she walks away
So
and sends her off.
And Abby,
Abby had a very strong reaction to that.
I had a visceral reaction of indignation.
That is a lie based on what you've just told me. So we'll continue on. Continuing on.
Abby's demons just fucking escaped.
Sorry, I fucking don't. Okay, we're about.
By the way, apologies. I've got a absolutely minging cold. Is what I would describe it
Sorry,
as.
I've been possessed by Belial. No.
But no, what I was going to say though is the women's names in this film. We've got Dink, Jill, Tilly, and Pussy. What? Like, these are like the sexy Bond women. Dink, Jill, Tilly, and Pussy.
Yeah.
This is obscene.
Right. So, Felix, now that there's time for man talk, Bond in his little blue play suit.
And he just gets rid of her.
He
Just
just
chucks her
get-
aside.
He chucks her aside.
On your way.
Yeah, on your way. And this is when he is given his mission by CIA. By the CIA. MI6 by way of the CIA. Because Felix is like, yeah, M, your boss, has been trying to get in contact with you. So he got in contact with me because you didn't answer. And here's your mission, man. And he's like, oh, okay. Auric, I'm to look out for an Auric Goldfinger. Sounds like a French nail polish. Very funny.
Sick burn, Bond.
Yeah. He's full of these. That joke was shocking.
Fred
Anyway.
goes wild.
So, and then he he's like, where can I find this Goldfinger? And then Felix is like, right over there.
And
right
then
over there.
we cut to this sunburnt dad.
This
on
sunburnt
holiday.
uncle, you're least...
Literally cutting about like a member of the fucking like she's from the Sopranos
Aye.
and like this bowling shirt kind of
I wouldn't
looking
even
like
give him that. Giving him Sopranos is like too complimentary.
Yeah.
the kind of guy that he wears too many rings on his finger, he'll pinch your cheek, the rings feel warm against your cheek, and then you'll have a vague smell of
You're all right.
cheese
Are you
against him.
That's so specific.
I just thought of it there.
Some kind of fucking
He's
memory
the kind
here.
of guy that you would go into the bathroom afterwards and the seat would be fucking boiling.
And be boiling and smell of cheese.
just
Anyway,
looks
I don't know if this is too mean to Goldfinger. Goldfinger, too mean to Gert Frobe who plays him. Gert Frobe,
Gert
Great-
Frobe, I'm so sorry if you ever watched this.
Apologies to Gert.
he's definitely dead. This was the 60s.
Okay.
People didn't live long in the 60s, apparently. No, he was like in his 40s or something then.
Okay.
So, right. Anyway, Goldfinger shows up, and then I remember Claude's reaction was like, this is fucking Goldfinger. He looks like your dad,
Mate.
your least favourite uncle.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Your dad's pal from the
He's
bowling
gold
club.
thumb, man.
but he's also got a brilliant gold low. He's also got like a half play suit thing going on as well. I don't know.
His
like
is minging, but
yeah, his is minging.
I don't want to wear that or date him.
So
This is
anyway,
like bright yellow and it didn't look like it used to be yellow.
yeah. So Goldfinger shows up and we immediately see him that he's playing a game of gin rummy, which is like a card game, which I don't know the rules of. I think I did at one point. But he's playing this, and he basically is playing this high stake. He basically plays high stakes games of chance against people to swindle them out of money because he's already a gold smuggling billionaire, but he's greedy and he wants more gold. He loves only gold, as Shirley Bassett screams.
Yeah, that's getting really handed to us very heavily. at
Yeah,
this
he loves
point.
gold, right? His name is Goldfinger. and
He's
he
wearing
loves
gold.
Yeah, he's wearing gold. And then, of course, the way he's cheating, though, is he's got like this fucking cable earpiece. And it's basically the Still Game episode, Cairds, where he gets the guy to sit in a position and then his girlfriend is up in the apartment spying down and feeding him the answers. And at first I thought, oh, he's got a hearing aid or something. But no, that's meant to be a discreet hidden like thing. Like
In the 60s,
earpiece.
though, would people have just been like, I don't even know what an earpiece is? Like, I have no concept of time. Was an earpiece a thing at the
So
time? Or
let's
would they have just
pretend-
looked at that and been like, oh, that's a funky new piece of fashion?
Well, let's
you
make
know?
a decision. Is it a mistake, a really silly mistake?
No, it's definitely on purpose.
No, I mean, did he think that it's more hidden than it is?
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
He
definitely.
keeps
to be
touching it as well. He's like this. Like
What cards is that you've played?
An ace?
Yeah,
an ace.
an ace. So, Bond notices this, because of course he does, and he makes his way to the apartment where he comes across Tilly. Is that, no, it's Jill. Is that Jill?
Jill.
That's Jill, sorry, of course.
Jill Masterson.
Jill Masterson.
What?
PTA mum.
PTA mum, Jill
Coach of the
Masterson.
swim team, Jill Masterson.
And yeah, she's very much like, oh, who are you? And
Wait, before we get
Oh,
there,
yeah.
we've got in the hallway where the maids, right? And this is the first time that I was like, Bond is just if Swanny let the intrusive thoughts win. Because Swanny's just like, what's the word? Just so enamored with like people, but with women particularly, not in a creepy way, but like he just notices. Oh no.
Cut to me for this.
You know,
Where's
he'd
she
be like,
going with this?
oh, she was really nice, or like,
okay.
what, do you know what I mean, like you're just so easily persuaded by women just for being nice or whatever. You get people, you're so wrapped around the finger of women in general, right?
Jesus,
this is like,
a fucking intervention now. Like, hey, it's Swanny. We're going to talk about Bond, but we're actually going to talk about you.
Intervention. It's like, man, this guy's had to come and get him from the CIA because he's no answering his phone. Like, then we've got the next scene in the hallway with this being made, and literally I was like, is he going to try to shag her as well? And then he just goes, you're very sweet to her, because she's like opening the door.
She
like,
opened the door for him. He's like, you're very sweet.
right?
She didn't really open a door for him. He like
did
dragged
her
her to
job.
the door. He dragged her to the door because it was like the keys attached to her uniform, is it not?
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, you're very sweet.
She was just
And
kind of
she
in the
kinda
way, and
went,
he's like, "Oh, you're very sweet," and I'm like, "Man, I feel like this is just Swanny's inner monologue." No, there was nothing creepy about it, or like they were trying to
Yeah.
come onto her. But I was like, I just feel like that's just like in Swanny's head all the time. Bond is just if Swanny let the intrusive thoughts win.
He's, yeah. So I'm not making this argument, but, you know,
He's letting it happen.
I'll let it happen. I'm wrapped around the Goldfinger, apparently.
you'll like actual greet if one of us.
I couldn't think of a joke, and I just called her Abby a cow. No.
I was just gonna say you're the kind of man who'd greet if we like are nice to you once a week. You know.
That is true.
Yes.
To be fair, I feel like I
Very
can't even think of what it was, but I texted you the other day something that was like vaguely nice, and you're like, I'm tearing up.
Okay, enough of my emasculation. Let's talk about Goldfinger's emasculation. So, Goldfinger. So yeah, we meet Jill, and Bond delivers the classic line. She's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Bond, James Bond." And then he gets his little glasses out. We get the music swell, and they always get that. Every time he says his name, there's always a wee music swell afterwards. And
It's
I
like
love
fucking Jason Derulo.
So, so Bond then takes over the walkie-talkie and basically says to Goldfinger, "Now listen here, Goldfinger, blah 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 blah. Do you want the Miami police to know what you've been up to? You're gonna lose this. Bet 15 grand and lose it." And Goldfinger's like, "Fucking." And then he basically gets absolutely buoyed, made fun of by Bond, and loses money to this fucking oblivious extra who's playing. And he's like, "I guess this is my lucky day." And Goldfinger loses 15 grand, and we get a nice little visualization of a broken penis when he snaps his pencil in anger.
Oh.
I just feel there's a lot of emasculation
Yeah,
going on
you're
with the characters
right.
in this. And Bond, this is the first time that Bond tries to buoy someone and is successful this time. And he does it. And
Wait,
Goldfinger's
is this
raging.
the only thing that Bond manages to do is get this guy 10
He
grand?
does a few things. He does a couple of things. He's good at being sexy, he's good at killing, and he's good at some sleight of hand.
What has he
Good at
achieved?
killing.
He killed
Like, two guys.
two big mate. Or anyway,
I think literally every other person that is
lashes to
pictured.
kill. He's got lashes to kill for a reason because he can kill well.
He's got a
got
license
a
to kill.
fucking
He never
professional,
mate.
Yeah, okay. Bond's got professional. Anyway, continuing on. He then, of course, sleeps. Oh,
Put that down. It's just masking you slightly. There we go.
so he then, what's the word for it? He then sleeps with Jill Masterson. They have some fun, whatever. We don't see too much of it because of the the rating system at the time.
Yeah.
Don't know why I'm harping on about that.
He then chucks her again.
Oh yeah. He's very much
He
like.
literally just goes like this to her face and fucking
Yeah,
shoves
because he's
her.
on the phone about his mission, and he's like, pushes her away, and it's kind of playful. And she's like rubbing her hair against his
Yeah,
face
that
because
was
she can't
fun.
kiss him. Or,
That was weird.
yeah,
I just love what they do to like.
Well, he's on the phone.
I'm not enjoying this at all. Just wanted to make that known.
I wasn't enjoying it either, guys.
I'm fucking glad.
I was debating if I should say I am enjoying it or not, but I thought that would not come across well.
No,
No.
no.
What's the truth though?
Oh, I loved it. No. Oh, my
Moving
God.
swiftly on.
Moving swiftly on. So, Bond then makes a little joke about champagne. This is another thing Bond's always doing. He's always quoting some fact about some posh luxury item that he's completely right about. He's like, can't have a 58 champagne with no ice or below 37 degrees Fahrenheit. And he goes over to get ice from the fridge. At this point,
wanky.
it is so wanky, but that's Bond and me. so
Realizations.
so then we see a hand appear at a shot, and he gets judo chopped from behind.
Hilarious, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So funny.
Ridiculous.
That's why the Austin Powers
I don't think that would
films
have won on me. You know that.
they would have worked on anyone.
I think my lats are too strong for that to work on me.
It worked on
Not my lads.
it worked on Baby Blue Bond though.
It is ridiculous though, because like, I mean, you were like, no, it's a judo chop, this is a thing, but I've got no fucking knowledge of karate, no, judo, I guess.
But I don't
Karate.
Okay, when I say it's a thing, Abby, when I say it's a thing, I don't mean it's like that's a thing that can happen in real life
Okay, yeah,
necessarily.
no. But what I mean is like you are aware that that's meant to mean something. For me, it was just like he was playing fucking a really shite game of Duck Duck Goose. I'm like, why is he just being tapped on the shoulder and is now incapacitated? Like,
Well, it's
this
a
is
thing-
ridiculous.
It's a thing that
just like
Yeah, it's a thing that Austin Powers lampoons. Every time he hits an enemy, he's always like judo chop and just does that
Right,
all the way.
okay.
So it's clearly just
It's just hilarious.
it's a thing that they do. But that happens, Bond's knocked out, and then we see the silhouette of a guy in a bowler hat, like some fucking Alfred Hitchcock cunt showed up. And Bond wakes up, comes to, and he finds that Jill is dead on the bed, and she is completely painted gold.
Aye.
Which is a very striking image. The music peaks, and Bond's like, "Oh my God, she's died." And this is once again Bond realizing, or starting to realize, women get hurt when I'm around. But Of course, he
and
continues
then
on.
he does nothing about
Nothing
it.
about it. So,
So, like, I'm not gonna lie, we've all got to die somehow, and that's a pretty sexy way to go.
That is
I feel like, I mean, we're obviously talking about the reality of the fact that it's impossible to be
that's the thing.
spray painted to death.
Yeah, that's
but
the whole
like,
thing. They say, oh, she died of skin suffocation because of being painted gold.
You can leave a like empty patch of skin at the bottom of their backs to let it breathe, but otherwise. And like, did anyone look that up? Is that,
It's bullshit.
yeah, I thought so. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
I love when we were debating this, we all had different points of reference because you were like, nah, Doja Cat went to the VMAs completely covered in fucking red diamonds. And I was like, I'm pretty sure in the Illustrated Mum, that Jacqueline Wilson book that I read when I was 7, she like has to go to hospital because she paints herself. And like,
Well, that's probably where Jacqueline Wilson got it from. But anyway, the point is, apparently that's bullshit. And this starts another trend that we're going to see. And this is Ian Fleming, the writer of Bond, and, you know, he helped with these scripts and some of this. He seems to have picked up, like, facts on his travels, which he hasn't verified, but then uses as plot lines to, like, you know, it's like, hey, if you cover your whole body in paint, you're going to die. So he's like, okay, great, Goldfinger can do that to someone and they'll die. And it's so funny because he just makes up shit and then makes it literally happen in the plot, scientifically so. And
it's just that guy you meet like at a uni party who's, you know, done a gap year and he's just telling you absolute pish and you're like, I know this is nonsense.
like-
he had
I can't be bothered
he had
arguing
no
with you.
internet to check it up. So,
Yeah, right.
so much pish was just getting
Do
floated
you think
about.
if these like films were made in the age of Google, he wouldn't have got away with half of this because people sitting in the cinema being like, well, that's fucking rubbish.
Oh yeah,
Bullshit.
probably. And yeah,
It's like that guy who you meet and he's like, yeah, I went to like Venezuela and I met like 7 Venezuelan police and I like fucking karate chopped them all and like fought and then like got back to my hotel unscathed because they were trying to rob me and you're like, is that right? Did that happen?
Okay.
did you? Did you? So
Sorry, I don't.
sorry, I don't. So Bond goes back to London now. Finally, we show up in jolly old London for Bond to get debriefed because he's like, oh, this is serious apparently, and he's lost Goldfinger at this point because Goldfinger sent that obviously as a revenge. And he goes to London, meets with M, and this again we're establishing the trope of Bond going to get to his handler, to his boss, getting the job, and M's basically like, look, this guy Goldfinger has been brought to our concern by the Treasury Department, Governor of the Bank of England, and we need to go meet with him to discuss it further. Bond's like, all right, cool, let's do that. And we have this another trope that comes up here. We have Moneypenny, his secretary, and there's always this will they, won't they, little back and forth patter of, oh, are you going to marry me one day, James? He's like, oh, Moneypenny, I have this to do. Oh, no. And it's always the patter. That's later on. But Bond then goes and meets with the gold depository. And this is just a really ridiculous scene of them in this opulent fucking room. The like governor, colonel of the Bank of, I think he's the governor of the Bank of England, but he's a colonel or whatever, and then Bond, and they're just smoking cigars and just fucking tanning whiskey, getting absolutely steaming and talking about gold.
I'm gonna be honest, see if there's any kind of plot explanation in a scene where it's 3 guys sitting drinking whiskey and they're all wearing kind of similar suits. I cannot discern any information from this.
I can't.
My fucking brain taps out. I'm like, I could be watching like fucking Mary Poppins singing Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious at this point. I've got no fucking idea what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
I've not learned anything from this scene whatsoever because just 3 guys drinking whiskey and talking, and I just can't focus on it. Like I'm so not interested in this.
So as someone who did focus on it a lot, here's a great detailed description. No, basically they just talk about, okay, Goldfinger is moving lots of gold. He's a billionaire and he's somehow moving gold in and out of the country. Gold's very easy to move. They talk about the gold's very meltable. You can break it down, you can move it. And they're like, we don't know how Goldfinger moves all his billions. So that makes us think, if he's hiding that, what else could he be hiding? And they're starting to really suspect him of, you know, smuggling. And basically the whole plot of this is Bond is just to go and find out more information about what Goldfinger's up to and how he moves his gold, and if that leads to smuggling. It's a very kind of loose mission. Some missions he gets are kill this guy, destroy this thing, find the lector, find this codebreaker, find the thief. And then this one is go spy on this guy for a bit and see
what
what
happens.
see
Does it
what's
make
going
me
on.
like smuggling
Gold.
illegally?
Yeah.
Like I kind of thought that the plot of most Bond films would be like, this person's been kidnapped and you need to go and save them, or this is gonna
A
happen.
lot of them are just go hang out with this villain and then see how villainous they are.
And again, the bar is set so low for him.
Yeah.
go and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Go and have a wee look.
So
But the one thing I do remember this scene though is it was another point of is Bond just Swanny? Because is it not like he's like, this guy's there to like talk about the whiskey, and then Bond keeps interrupting him.
Oh yeah, sorry, I've got this here. Yeah, Bond tries to buoy the Colonel. The Colonel's like, "What do you think of the whiskey?" And then Bond's like, "Oh, it's a Scottish blend, not the best, essentially." And then starts talking about the history of this whiskey. And then M's like, the Colonel was talking Bond. This is his story. And then Bond's just like, yeah, well, he was getting it wrong, wasn't he? And yes, I do see the irony that is me.
Yeah, it literally is. Again, that's Swanny at a party. That's Swanny at a uni party. Is somebody talking about something and Swanny's just fucking like, no.
I'm a nice person.
You are a nice person.
This is coming across like I'm a dick.
This is how we criticise Swanny, though. Because we're criticising him, but at the same time we're like, but you're Bond.
But you're Bond.
But you're Bond.
Well, appeal to that part
These
of
are all
your
the
ego.
things that are wrong with you.
I hate this.
Bond.
I hate this because I can't
works.
it works. It means you can make endless fun of me. And then as soon as I go, you go, do you not want to be Bond?
Broad-shouldered sexy man.
Broad-shouldered sexy.
Last
Anyway,
night you were like leaving the flat in a rush, and you were like running around picking things up and going, I'm bonding it up.
I was bonding it up. Absolutely fucking it. I missed that. I missed my taxi. Almost twice. Anyway.
Insert video here.
Insert video. Oh, yeah, you could actually. That'd be really funny. Anyway, so, yeah. Bond plans to track Goldfinger, and he does so, but first off, he has a stop off with Q Branch. So Q Branch gets his gadgets. We see this is another trope that Bond's always doing. He's always checking with Q, and they're always doing the most ridiculous fucking tests. This one's quite limited. It's just a guy getting shot at point blank range with a machine gun, and then he opens, he's got an armor-proof vest, and there's like a
Which we never see Bond wear.
Which no, you never see Bond wear half the gadgets that Q's using. That's the joke. And then there's like a cup with a grenade in it, and then Q's like, Bond, don't touch that. And then he gives Bond 2 tracking devices, which he fucks with and doesn't use very well. But that's basically it. But it's establishing that trope, and they get more and more ridiculous. There's some really funny ones later on, but that'll be for another time. So. Yeah, then Bond is essentially he's been given a bit of a Nazi gold, a gold bullion to go, hey, this is your in with Goldfinger. Go bring this to Goldfinger and see if you can, offer it to him, try and learn more about him. And Bond is organised, not to sneak in, but it's literally, Bond, we're setting up a social event with you. You and Goldfinger are going to go play golf. So they go play golf. And the golf scene is actually pretty great, and it's Bond right away. As soon as he meets him, he's like, "Hi, I'm Bond." He doesn't give a code name. He goes, "I'm Bond."
It's like there's not a lot of subtlety in this espionage.
Not a lot of spying.
Yeah, there's not.
I
There's
realised
not.
as I was actually like reading my notes there, I was like, this is hilarious, because I was like, there's no subtlety. You know when people say subtle as a brick? He literally just chucks a brick of gold on the ground and is like, there you go. There's a brick of gold.
What do you think of this?
What spying that you see James Bond do in the entirety of Goldfinger is sitting on a balcony in Benidorm with a wee pair of binoculars and talking to the guy directly and being like, "Hi, I'm Bond. Give this guy money."
He doesn't give his name there, but it's pretty.
He finds out fairly quickly.
Yeah, well, he knows the
He's a
same guy.
spy.
Yeah. He's not.
He's no spy, and he's just hanging out.
There's also the bit where we'll get to it, but also where he's just like looking through this fucking thing that everyone's looking at. The spying is bad.
The spying is very bad in this film. So Bond plays a game. He drops the bar, gets Goldfinger's interest, and they decide to play a game of wager, like a game of chance on the golf game for either the value of the gold bullion, which is $5,000, which I didn't look up what it was back in the 60s, but a lot more than that. And obviously Goldfinger puts the money up. They play this game, and this is, again, another classic. I think Goldfinger's just shit at games of chance and loves playing them, so he cheats. But basically he's doing terrible swings. One of his balls goes into the rough, and this is when you get the really ridiculous scene of Oddjob rolling a ball without using his hands down his trouser leg.
Yeah, did he just have that squeeze between his arse cheeks the entire time?
I think he did, yeah.
He's so uptight, I could see that happening.
So, yeah,
I feel like he would have to
we get
clench
introduced
for that.
to the guy in the bowler hat that we met earlier with a karate chop. Oddjob. That's his name. Oddjob. He's a mute Korean wrestler, fighter, that sort of vibe. And he's butler, right hand man to Goldfinger. But he's his caddy on the golf course. And yeah, he puts a fake ball there, so it's a better shot for Goldfinger. And Bond, of course, figures it out. He's like, he uses a number 1, but it's actually number 7 or something like that. And he's like, how do you know? His friend says. And Bond's like, or Felix says, because he's there, I think. Either way. And Bond's like, because I've got it right here under my foot. Of course he does. So he decides to play a little trick on Goldfinger, lets Goldfinger win the game, and then goes, oh, wait, this was your ball, but you were playing this other ball. You must have got the wrong one. Oh, and since it's a game of chance, a high-stakes game, you lose. And then fucking Goldfinger's raging, Boyd again, storms off. But then to accentuate the point, he gives the money to Bond, and he's like, you've interfered with me twice. That's the last time. I'm done with it. And just to show you I mean business, odd job. And the odd job gets his bowler hat off. And we come to, and I was like, guys, wait for this. You're like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And he throws this razor-rimmed bowler hat and cuts the head of a statue right off. And then just kind of looks menacingly at Bond and then walks away and retrieves the hat.
Right. The same with the fucking brick of gold. I'm like, why do these men keep just chucking things out that they're then going to have to like
Go
hunch
get?
over it and like go and fucking retrieve? And also, like, fair enough, this guy obviously has like fucking assassin skills of some kind. But like, if you can throw a hat with a blade in it, you can throw anything with a blade in it. Why would you make your weapon one thing that you're going to have to go and like get it and throw it again?
It's just most
like
projectiles are either like shot quite quickly so that they go through someone, or they are attached to something so you can bring it back, or even a boomerang which comes back to you
Yeah,
through
it's-
the air.
it's
But
ridiculous.
He
It's-
just chucks things and then it's like has to go back and get it. Like a duck.
get it.
But again, that's another trope that comes up. We have henchmen with equally ridiculous gadgets or some weird, like, quirk that's either to do with their suit, their outfit, or their weapon. You get it throughout the Bond films, and this is really when it gets established here. I mean, in the first one, you had Dr. No with his hands, but this is when it really gets put into focus. And as I said, this bowler hat, for most of the James Bond games, any first-person shooter games, when you're playing Bond, everyone wants Odd Job's hat. You pick it up, it's a fucking one-hit kill if you hit anyone with it, which is very funny when people are carrying these huge shotguns and running away from some guy running after them with a fucking bowler hat, throwing it into the wall, picking it up, and I was like, great. Good memories with that growing up. So, continuing on, but as I say, we kind of were saying that Oddjob kind of becomes almost with his bowler hat like an evil milady, tip in his hat.
it's like ridiculously uncool.
It's so uncool. Anyway, so Bond then follows them. He's put a tracker into their car, which to be fair, that is something he does successfully. He does follow them, and we get them going around Switzerland into Geneva. Through beautiful landscapes, and we see Goldfinger and Oddjob sitting giving like money to some fucking Von Trapp family type folk on the side of the road, and Bond's looking at them with his binoculars.
Yeah, that didn't become anything.
Yeah,
Who,
what was
who
that?
the fuck were they?
No idea. No, I think it's
Just met
just.
some pals on the road.
I think it was
They're
just
in the middle of
strangers.
fucking nowhere.
I don't know what it was. I think it was just an opportunity. The idea is that they were stopping to take a rest, and there was people there. They interact with them. It gives Bond a chance to then try and get a glimpse on them, and then it gives Tilly, Jill's sister, a chance to try and shoot them.
You don't know that she's her sister yet.
You don't know that yet.
You just think she's some random woman that's shooting a Bond. But you don't
Yeah,
know
but
why.
apparently she was meant to be shooting a Goldfinger, so I don't know why the fuck she shot at Bond. So
She's just a bad shot, man.
she's a terrible
She's
shot.
been an assassin for like fucking 3 days.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So this happens, and then as Bond's driving, we get another one of Bond's tropes getting established, where he's in his nice, fancy, meant to say he got his DB5, his Aston Martin. First time the Aston Martin's come into play. Another trope, classic Bond car with gadgets, etc. He gets that car, and then he gets involved in a bit of a back and forth game of tag with a sexy woman in a car. This happens in so many Bond films, where they're just on some perilous road, just like challenging each other to a race. And then Bond decides to, win the race by wrecking her tires with his like extendable gadget in his
Wait,
wheels.
so if he knows that she wasn't shooting at him,
I don't think he knows
that's
that.
a really dick move.
I don't think he knows that. I don't think he knows that.
No, he
I
doesn't.
I think it's kind of confused, to be honest.
Yeah, this whole part of the
Definitely
plot is
doesn't
very
know-
muddy.
Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't know that she wasn't shooting at him.
Okay.
Because he says later on, like, why were you shooting at me? And she was
Oh,
like,
right,
I wasn't, I
okay,
was shooting
fair
at him. And then he was like, well, you're a bad shot then.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Wrecks her tires.
She wrecks her tires, and he's like, "Oh my god, what happened? This is so bad. My car's fine."
Yeah, look at state your tires,
He's
man.
like,
That's shocking.
it must be a faulty wiring. It must be a fault in
Not just
the.
the tires, though. You've ever seen the entire fucking site? It's like greased lightning. Do you know what I mean? When they race at the
Yeah.
fucking thing and the wee jabby bit comes out and it scores the car.
That's definitely
I don't even think he offers to pay for her car or anything like that. I think he just wrecks her car and it's like, well, good luck, man. Do you want to come stay at my hotel?
Yeah, and then he says the ridiculous line, You're not the kind of girl to ditch. Which prompts the question, Bond, who is the kind
Is the kind of girl,
the kind of girl to ditch?
What is it? The kind of girl who should be ditched. You're not
that's
the
it,
kind of
sorry.
girl who should be ditched.
Not the kind of girl that should be ditched. And it's like,
What?
right.
So if she was stinking, you just fucking leave her there.
Aye. Unfortunately.
Probably.
Aye.
Do you know what I'm thinking as well, right? So for the next book, because obviously this evening he's planning on spying on Goldfinger's base and breaking into it, right? But at the point that he takes her back to the petrol station to get her car fixed and stuff like that, because she says it's going to take a day, he like says like, oh, do you want to hit the road? Like, should we go and do something? So when the fuck was he planning on breaking into Goldfinger's base? Was he just going to patch his job?
He was.
To go and shag
To be
this
fair, he did that the first
Again.
time with her.
Certainly.
Literally 3 days ago with her sister. He was like,
He patched the job to
they-
shag her and got her
they
killed.
phoned him and he was like, I'm actually busy.
Yeah, right.
Literally.
He could be like, yeah, we actually need to get out here because she's going to be a target, blah, blah, blah. What?
Do it again.
What? How?
That's something you
If you hooked up with a beautiful woman on a fucking international trip and then somebody was like, Swanny,
You need to get back
it's
to your
your
shift,
work,
man.
You were meant to start at 12:30. This has literally happened.
Yeah, okay. Fuck. Yeah, it has happened. Fuck. This is shocking. Anyway, so
Bond's driving along the fucking countryside going, "Arr," with his fucking steering wheel, slapping it, screaming.
yep, done all those things. Yep, doesn't take kindly to getting Boyd, does he? Oh, right. So he does a chore. He decides to just take up a chore, takes her to like a petrol station, gas station, hangs him out for a bit, blah, and then eventually decides, because she kind of basically turns him down, he goes, oh, well, better do my mission then. So he goes to
go to work, man.
Yeah, better get back to work. He goes to Auric Enterprises. This is his big base of operations for his gold, bullion, except what the fuck he actually does. It's something to do with gold. Storage, I guess. So he camps out on the hillside, like during the day, and then we cut to night. So he just hangs out in the woods for like a whole
like
evening.
8
For like
hours.
8 hours in the woods.
Doesn't even have a pair of binoculars as well. Like,
Yeah, no,
he's
I thought he
he's
did.
just
I thought he did,
raw
but you were like,
dogging
I didn't see
the
them.
entire
He's
operation,
just
man.
fucking it up,
and,
man.
and he's like really high up on this hill. He wouldn't have a clue what was going
Yeah,
down below.
As
Doesn't have any
shown,
binoculars.
when he breaks into the place, because he's immediately just running away from
The guy's
guards.
got an ejector seat in his car and no one fucking provided him with a pair of binoculars. Are you
I think he just left him in the car, man. Like,
He
lost
was
the
like,
keys.
do I want to go?
Am I going to go into the car? Nah.
Nah.
I'll just sit here for 8 hours and
Yeah.
I've got time, we've got plenty of time. And oh, wait, no, 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 shit. So, but yeah, just to show that he's definitely not prepared, instead of like a classic stealthing in past all the guards, like a smooth stealth, he's immediately in like, where are they? Running, oh my God, and quickly just missing them as they come out the door.
Yeah, he's just constantly almost getting.
I'm like, man,
caught.
you've been preparing for 8 hours and you just like stumbled into this.
Just winging it.
Yeah, absolutely is. So anyway, his haphazard stealth eventually gets him some information. First of all, he hears the words Operation Grand Slam. And he's like, ooh, Operation Grand Slam. What's that? At this point I went, Claude, what do we think? This is Goldfinger's plan, Operation Grand Slam. What do we think it is? And then Claude turned to me and she went, what? Is he going to play a high stakes game of tennis with Bond or something? Which is very
I don't
funny.
even think I said it that
To be
cool.
fair, this
I
is-
think I more
He's
just
going to
went.
play tennis.
Are they gonna play tennis?
To be fair, like, this is after they've just played a high stakes game of golf.
2 high stakes games of hey, very fucking fair.
Fucking
Actually,
snap and golf.
very fair. Made me laugh a lot, and I would loved to have seen them playing tennis together. That'd have been so fucking
Like a
stupid.
golden racket.
Golden
ball.
Yeah. Kills him with knocking the ball when it goes through his heart or something. Anyway, pish. But Bond then manages to get a little bit more clarity, and he sees Goldfinger. I was going to say Blofeld. He sees Goldfinger in his lair with his Rolls Royce. That's the kind of car that he drives. And then this is when Goldfinger goes, smuggling is an art form. And the way I do it is I melt down the gold and put it into my car. And then I come and do trips all over Europe. And that's how he gets his gold in and out. He's smuggling it through his luxury cars. Cool. Perfect. So that's that ticked off. Bond's
Can I
got
ask
that.
a question?
Yeah.
Right. So he needs to smuggle gold, but surely if you melt down gold, it's going to be the same weight as it was when it was solid.
Aye.
Also, why does that have to be a luxury car? Surely that's going to cost money to like melt it in and out. It would be a crappy car. It's less conspicuous as well.
In the car? In the car where?
Like
What, in
it's-
the back seat?
No, alloy. He melts it down and makes the car out, or puts, or like coats the car in the gold.
Makes it in gold, but like it's going to weigh, yeah, like it's going to weigh the same as,
Yeah.
surely it's going to take longer. What?
Yeah, it's look,
It's ridiculous.
It's just meant to be this guy's so powerful and rich that he's making it into his cars, and that's how he's getting away with it. It's just meant to be. It's again probably some
A display of wealth. Yes,
yeah, display
I
of
get
wealth,
it.
and probably some anecdote Ian Fleming heard about it was like, all right, cool, let's fucking just put that in as well. Like he just hears shit on his travels and was like, that'll be good for a story. That could work. I guess that'll happen. Anyway,
So
what then happens is Bond is spotted. This is when we get our first big chase scene. Bond absolutely fucks it. Jumps
arguably my favourite scene, this one. It's so funny.
So because he gets a hell of a gun. I can't actually remember how they catch him.
So what happens is he finds the woman that he helped with the car first.
Yes.
And then she's going to shoot Goldfinger, but he wants him
finds her again.
alive.
Yeah, that's it.
So
She's
he like grabs her, and while he's grabbing her, she like hits a wire, which I guess alerts them to where
Yes,
they are, and then
that's
all the
right.
guys come.
how did I miss that? But that is what I remember seeing that and being like, I don't know what's happened.
I was loving it by this point.
It's great.
Well
No,
invested.
I was just like, whoa. Anyway, so triggers. She reveals herself to be Tilly Masterson, Jill's sister.
Tilly and Jill.
Tilly and
Bond
Tilly and
girl.
Jilly. Tilly and
No
Jilly.
offense to any
Two
Tilly
minor Bond
girls.
girls. So yeah, they get in a chase scene. They jump in his car, fucking hurtling away. Oh no, yeah, they start round towards the car after. Because I'm pretty sure he stopped. Her shot goes off. Like they hear her shot going off as well. I'm sure. And the alarm's going off, everyone's coming, and there's like a couple of guys by part of the car next to Bond, and they're like, she's like, oh my god, he's like, don't worry, I'll get him, runs up and just fucking bodies the guy, slams him into the fucking side of his car and goes, right, let's go. He's just such a fucking brute. He's got none of this judo chops, he's just like, fuck.
One of my favourite things about the old Bond things, which is exactly why I hate the new ones, is that they're all too polished, they're all
Yes.
too, like, take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
And in this, they kind of fight like Hugh Grant and Colin Firth do in the Bridget Jones Diary.
Yes.
Oh,
That's how they
yeah.
fight. They just
Fucking good
like, pull
catch.
each
There's
other's
a film I
hair,
wanna watch.
kicking each other, like pulling each other's jumpers and stuff. That's how Bond fights.
Yeah,
And
he's
I love it.
it's just pure energy. Like you could see the thing is Bond's fighting style is the exact same as it is now as it was when he was fighting outside a pub in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the exact same. He does the same fucking shit. He's not changed at all. So anyway, we have a really funny chase scene and a really good chase scene, but there's some highlights I pointed out. We've got a guy firing a gun like an absolute maniac at the side of his car. It's like it's like his hand
Just like,
cannon.
his hands are just flopping
Yeah, just-
all over the place, like
No aiming, whatever.
a stormtrooper type.
Yeah, and then we have Bond absolutely just fucking any stealth at all, crashing into shit, knocking over barrels, knocking into boxes, getting chased, and then as he's coming towards, as he's coming around the corner, they put some bright lights on.
Is this?
We're not got her yet. We'll get to her in a sec. Some bright lights come on because I'm pretty sure. No, I'm getting confused.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Either way, basically, chase scene and some highlights. We have Tilly getting killed
Yes.
when the cars eventually stop.
And
Odd Job kills her with his hat, throws the bowler hat, and it's obviously meant to represent. We've seen a head get cut off before. It's meant to she gets decapitated.
yeah, I had no idea that's what had happened. Because
No,
we were like, is she
because
dead?
There's
and
no
then,
blood or anything.
Yeah, it's PG,
No.
and they do a shadow over her neck. To be fair, and
But it's
that's
dark. You can't see it.
that's why they do it because they can't show the blood because it's
But, like,
PG and it's.
The thing that I pointed out to you as well, I was like, we've just seen it fucking go through a concrete statue.
Yeah, again, it's-
and it's not cut off like her flesh and
But
bone.
again, we've been shown that, so suspension of disbelief. The idea is that
Yeah.
that's what's
I mean,
happened.
I get why it's that like that. I just think it's silly.
And it's just maybe not showing her body.
Yeah.
Just been like, oh my, I'm like shocked. But again, that could have been too dark. I don't know. They're doing a lot of stuff with the censors at this point. But yeah, and then that's really what establishes Odd Job as a real fucking villain. And Bond's like, oh, let me get this dramatic music as Odd Job comes behind him, and then they grab him.
Let's just take stock right now of where we're at with Bond's mission. So far, he has managed to follow this group of people, reveal himself to them, and be now effectively captured by them. and gotten 2 women killed in the process by association and lack of ability to protect them in any way. He got karate chopped on the shoulder and the first bird died, and then the second time he was just fanning about in the woods.
He was
and
the one who told it to run as well.
Right?
And then he ran, and then
Also, this woman would have been like halfway up the fucking road if he hadn't burst our tyres for no fucking reason.
I know,
Like,
man.
come on.
So then what happens is Bond very stupidly gets put in the driver's seat of his own car at gunpoint.
whilst they've captured him,
Whilst
they're
they've
bringing him
captured
back to base.
Captured him in a car that's got like all seats and things like that in the back. It's not as if they were like running out of
They could've
space to
just
put
tied him up,
They
shoved him in the
could've put
boot.
him
Yeah, they should have put him in the
why
fucking
fuck was
boot.
this guy like, right, going to trust you here.
I don't drive. I can't drive. Can you do this?
You've at least got your provisional.
I've not even got my provisional Bond. So anyway, the guy drives him, and then Bond immediately. So no, we get a really nice scene where we meet this little lovely old woman who clearly runs the.
She comes out and she like opens a gate.
Opens the gate and then
smiling
and she's like waving at
Mother
all Mother Hubbard waving at all the boys, all the lads. Oh, hey guys, Goldfinger's lads. And then Bond immediately just takes control of the car because he's already in control.
Because
he's driving
fucking
it.
driving
And he
it.
turns it off, and the guy just kind of looks at him, hesitating. You're like,
Literally.
Literally for several seconds. With a gun to his
as
head.
Bond fumbles
And
about with the ejector seat, like, fuck. Here's it again, boom, hits it, and then the guy falls out.
Away.
The car, he stops the car when he does it as well, and then reverses. And then drives away. And at this point, we get an iconic moment from who's going to be one of my contenders for the Rogues Gallery.
So, I think this
episode.
is
We
a
need to
good time
explain
to
Rogues Gallery.
explain the Rogues Gallery.
Yeah, so the Rogues Gallery, as we kind of hinted at last time, and we made mention of, is a thing that we've decided we're going to incorporate. Every film that we see, we're going to nominate one of the villains or try and discuss which villain will enter the Rogues
Doesn't
Gallery.
even have to be a
Doesn't even have to
villain.
be a villain.
Just a rogue.
A rogue.
It could even just be an implication of something. It could just
This comes from, we've had this sort of patter for ages. It's, initiated by Swanny, who will no doubt want the credit for that.
didn't say anything. Credit stands. It's clearly a funny idea. Must have been Swanny.
Basically, whenever we hear a funny name or
Oh, that was
we
brutal.
encounter
It was. I looked cool though. I saw myself on the camera.
Man, I feel like I was talking, but maybe not.
Anyway, so right.
Whenever we encounter like a funny name or character in literature, or it's an idea we come up with, an imaginary person that is just ridiculous, they go in the Rogues Gallery, which in actuality is just the notes app of Swanny's phone. But
Where
the
all
hallowed
magic
halls
happens.
of the
Where
Rogues
all
Gallery.
the magic happens. So, what's the word?
So
for
who's
it?
who's in it so far? So we've got
We've got from episode 1, we've got Twilight Bear Charlie.
Charlie as the bear.
Charlie as the bear who was going around killing all the other bears.
Yep, Bear
Rogues
Charlie.
Gallery. No, episode 2, we've got Titanic, the very obvious choice of Villainsby, who is the biggest
Hands
rogue
down.
of Titanic.
Yeah, the butler.
Even more
Absolutely.
so than Brendan Urie. And now,
And now this time,
with episode 3.
And
Are
with
we,
episode three-
are we decided 100% that it's Mother
Well,
Hubbard?
I'm going to make the case for her.
Okay, go.
Basically, this woman, old woman, Mother Hubbard. Oh, I'm the front or whatever. I'm waving people away, opening the gate. Lovely, got a wee house there, wee cup of tea. I don't know, she's lovely. And then suddenly, as soon as Bond's driving away, we cut to her pulling a massive fucking like light machine gun, some rail gun, and just after like she can't even control the gun, and she's just
It's too big for
It's
her.
too big for anyone.
The fucking reverb is just like
Oh, it's hilarious.
almost blows her on her arse.
I forgot that happened, and as soon as it happened, I was like, "Oh my god!" I remember watching this when I was much younger, and I remember telling my gran, "That's you, Granny." And she was like, "Raging." That was a good neck crack.
See, as well, like, Bond's obviously got bulletproof glass in his car, because of course he does, but if he didn't, she would have just shot him in the head several times, film over.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
the end.
absolutely.
Mother Hubbard, to
be
a good
fair,
aim.
She's a fucking lot better at her job than Bond is.
She's a crack shot.
So she doesn't have any lines.
Former sniper.
She is in it for maybe 45 seconds at most. She's
But
going
the
in
world,
Rogues Gallery.
the
This is what I
world
don't
she
get about this
creates.
bulletproof. Yeah, I just love that she is dropped in again without any context. Like,
need it.
how did they find her? How did she agree to do this? How much is she being paid?
Yeah.
Like,
this woman is like 5'1" and looks about 80 in it as well. I don't want
Is
it
she
like. I
Goldfinger's
don't want there
mom?
to be any.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
It's Goldfinger's mom.
I don't want there to be any kind of confusion here where people are like, oh, is this like a kind of cool looking woman in her 60s or something? No, this woman's like 85. She is like 4'9".
Put it this way, she's the only woman in this film that Bond doesn't try to shag.
She's so old that she's getting shorter every time Claude describes her.
But like, this is the thing as well that I don't understand about this fucking bulletproof glass. I get that we had the whole bit where they're like, oh, this is a cool car, it's got bulletproof glass, but there are holes in the glass. Like, where's the marks? Like, there's like clear holes in the glass, like all over Bond's face. I'm like,
Insert image now.
where are these going? Like, what's happening? Why is he not dead?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Well, you don't have to because it's a Bond film.
So Bond escapes.
Bond escapes. He drives around the factory for a bit, crashes into some boxes, and then gets dazzled by bright lights. And then goes
Crashes into a wall.
and just crashes into a wall, gets knocked out. They capture him again, and then this becomes one of the most iconic scenes in any Bond film, and sets up another great trope.
Can I just say as well?
Yeah, of course.
Take stock of the amount of times that Bond's been captured so far.
Okay, yeah.
So he's shagged, 2 women.
Yeah.
He's got 2 women killed.
Yeah.
And he's been captured twice.
Yep.
He has achieved
Arguably,
nothing except for swindling Goldfinger twice.
yeah. The only thing.
And he's been captured by way of a tap on the shoulder and some really bright lights.
What's the no?
3 times
No,
then.
that's what I'm going to say, Abby. That first one, that hit in the shoulder, isn't a capture. He gets left. He could have been captured that time. So
Yeah.
technically, he's got two
been
definite captures and a
incapacitated
fucking
3
third that he was
To be
lucky.
honest, Bond is like ineffectual, but Goldfinger also is kind of like not really going that hard on him.
Aye,
No.
he's not. Well, at this point, well, so we get to this scene. So Goldfinger, this is the iconic scene. Bond is strapped to a table in this beautiful fucking opulent lair, and Goldfinger comes down and he's like, Bond, told you to leave me alone. Now this is the end of the road for us, basically. Da 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 da. And he starts to talk about, I love gold. Gold is great. And I've even made this laser out of gold.
Shocker, man. He likes gold.
Right?
Wow.
So it's so powerful when it's used that it can put a spot on the moon, and it can also cut through metal. So then this laser begins to cut its way down the table up towards Bond, like going to cut right through him in the middle. Again, a very emasculating sort of way to die.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be his balls that get ripped apart by lightning gold first. It's just a very odd description that I just said, but hey. And he, what's the word for it? He's lying there and he's kind of like, try to play back against Goldfinger. Goldfinger's very much not having it, and he's like, and then we get the iconic shot. He goes, "Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Great line. And he's like, "Okay, Bond, good night, Mr. Bond," and he's leaving. And then Bond's like, "Do you know if I die, they'll just send 008?" And then he's like, "And I'm sure he'll have better luck than you." And we as the audience are
right.
like, aye.
Aye.
Again, that's another thing that Bond films do that I quite like. They just imply that the other agents are cutting them out. They explore other agents in later Bond films, which is fun. But they'll just throw in, hey, yeah, 002 died, or 008 will show up. I would love a film that had all of them. Anyway, continuing on, the laser's coming up closer to him, and then Bond, in his last-ditch effort to survive, goes, 008 knows what I know. Operation Grand Slam, for example, and this stops Goldfinger dead because he's like, wait a minute, if they know about Operation Grand Slam, which we know fuck all about, as far as Claude's concerned, it's a tennis game. But it panics Goldfinger. He's like, wait a minute, if they know about it, then that means the plan's foiled. So he kind of starts talking with his guys, and he goes,
He's
"What?"
not just talking with his guys though. He's having like a little corner bitch with him, like me and you do.
It's so funny. We cut
That's
to
the
Bond.
vibe.
Bond's sweating like fuck, and it cuts to them just going,
Just like
Swanny is like in the middle of everything, fucking center of attention. Me and Claude are just sitting in the bar at a table literally for 2, going, what like,
almost fucking cringe.
oh right, that's fucking embarrassing.
and I'm
man.
like, guys, I am about to die. Help me.
And we were just like, yeah, 1 minute, Swanny, for fuck's sake, like, give us a second.
And I had to get cut in half. But eventually, Goldfinger reasons. He's like, what you do know probably can't affect me. And he's like, are you willing to take that chance? Which again ties into this whole thing about Goldfinger's chance and gambling. And
Loves
Goldfinger
chance.
waits. And he goes, too. And the laser gets cut off.
Just before his balls.
Just before his balls.
Yay!
So he goes, it seems you're
intact.
Balls intact. So it seems you're more valuable alive. No, that's Sean Connery's voice. It seems you're more valuable to me alive, says Goldfinger. I don't know what voice it was. It seems you're more valuable to me alive, says Goldfinger, and takes Bond out. And this is when he then gets, we get another contender for the Rogues Gallery. He didn't quite make it, but this little guy shows up with his tranquilizer gun.
Oh, shocking.
And just shoots Bond in the fucking
nothing.
side. Says nothing.
Says nothing.
And shoots Bond in the side. Bond passes out and then comes to. And then we get the introduction of Pussy Galore.
Oh,
And he goes, and so she shows up and then he goes, who are you? And then she goes, I'm Pussy Galore. And then he just makes the fucking dirtiest smile I've ever seen. He just smiles to himself. I must be dreaming.
it's ridiculous.
So fucking
Do you think,
funny.
like, how difficult it must have been to do that with a straight face? What's your name? Pussy Galore.
Pussy
Do you
Galore.
think as well that her name is Pussy Galore just for the pure fact that just to have that kind of bit between them? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm Pussy Galore. Like, I must be
1,000%.
dreaming.
1,000%.
You don't think that her Christian name is Pussy Galore? Her mother didn't give birth to her and name her Pussy Galore.
Maybe she called her Fanny.
Man, that would be funny.
Aye, but it didn't have the same riz. So,
Sorry.
there you go.
This is another. So basically, as soon as Pussy Galore comes into this film, I'm now like, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm enjoying this a bit more because there's a woman who I feel like might be alive for more than 5 minutes. I feel as if I can hitch my wagon to this one. All of her outfits are sick. The only, like, if it wasn't for the blue toweling place out at the beginning, then they would all be top contenders for best outfit. There's a purple one that she wears later that you were literally like, Abby, you'd wear that.
Yeah.
Very true. But I just love the idea that she gets called Pilot Pussy. Like,
Yeah.
because he makes a joke about her, like, you know, maybe he's better flying, some kind of fucking sexist joke about her being able to fly a plane, and she is so indignant with him. And the mere suggestion that she isn't like a really fucking career-driven pilot,
Yeah.
and literally the only thing that she said so far is the fact that her name is Pussy Galore.
Yeah, Pilot Pussy. So,
Pilot Pussy.
and
But good for her.
then this is when she's pointing a gun at him, and then Bond just makes shit up. Again, Ian Fleming just makes shit up. He goes, oh, if you shot me at that range with that caliber, the bullet would pass through me. It would rupture the hull of the
Oh,
plane.
no, hold on. We're missing a whole bit. We're missing the.
Oh, yeah.
No, that happens after he goes into the bathroom to have a shave.
Oh yeah, because she takes his gun off him.
She takes his gun off him.
I'm pretty sure, well, no, because I have, either way, basically the gun gets pulled at some point on the plane, and then he just tells a little thing of, oh, yeah, the bullet goes through the hull. You will get sucked out into outer space. That's not necessarily how
And
that
also
works.
it becomes the most heavy-handed for it. It's Chekhov's if a gun went off and went through a hole in the hull of a plane and it would get sucked into outer space.
What would happen?
Outer space.
And then we have a very, very, very funny moment when Bond also has the line, "You're a woman of many parts, pussy," which is a very ridiculous line. And he goes into the bathroom.
Goes into the bathroom and there's like little peepholes. There's like this
fucking
girl
pervy
working on Pussy's plane.
Yeah.
And she's like made him a drink. So Pussy's like, go and
Keep an eye on
check
him.
Bond. And she goes up to the little peephole to go and look in, and you think that how's Bond gonna do, like, you know, cover up this peephole in a really cool way? Just fucking shoves his jacket over it.
Yeah. He shoves his jacket over it. He's like got. He's putting shaving cream over it all.
It's like,
So he does.
get a bit of blue tack and put it over your
the thing is,
webcam.
yeah, right. The implication though is that there are multiple people all around this bathroom spying in. So like it's
multiple peepholes, just specifically
so
for the
many,
bathroom.
and he's finding them all.
How many times, apart from this one situation, did someone need to spy on someone while they were in the bathroom
How
on
many
this
fo-
private plane? Like,
Right,
what
right.
the
Tiny private.
How many people are in these fucking crawl spaces right now, like pressed up against the mirror, going, "Yep,
Who's living in
Yep.
the fucking walls, man?
I know. Yeah, who's living in the walls?
Is Goldfinger just like schizophrenic?
Probably.
He's like,
Or is
these
that
people's there.
is it some sort of fetish? He likes people knowing that they're watching him. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. But he has a pervy plane. It's a very pervy plane.
Pervy plane.
And it's very funny.
It's Pilot Pussy's pervy plane.
Pilot. Literally, it's a tongue twister. Hey. So, yeah. very funny, this pervy plane. And obviously, we land down, and Bond is. She then. Yeah, you're right. I think that's maybe when she does the gun, but basically, hard way or easy way. He goes for the easy way. He doesn't get shot this time. So he ends up getting put in prison.
So this is like he's just been captured for the majority of this
Yeah.
film because all of this, like the chase scene, him being in on the table with the laser, and like being in the car, and then being in the plane, and now being in prison is like the majority of the film.
Yeah. Yep.
He spends.
You kept being like, how long's left in this? He's not got very much time left to redeem himself.
So he's putting
I would guesstimate that 3/4 of the film Goldfinger, James Bond spends being imprisoned in some kind of way, attached to something in somebody's contraption.
1,000%.
In actual prison.
And that's a recurring theme of all Bond films. Again, this happens all the fucking time. Again, the tropes are here on display. But yeah, we get some little asides. We meet, just as he's getting imprisoned, we're on the airfield, we meet Pussy's pilots.
In Pussy Galore's Flying Circus.
Yes.
Which, again, why? What?
It's just all these like
It's an airfield, man.
It's
like that's so extra.
And then,
Also, I kind of thought that was maybe like a code name, but she's got it like on the fucking building, man.
and then we get the great line from an extra. One of the girls comes up and goes to Pussy Galore. Rehearsals went like a dream, Skipper. And you're like, right. Cheers for that.
Yeah,
milking that line. But yeah, they get Bond tied up, and then he is put in the prison cell. And as this is happening, Bond's in the prison cell. Goldfinger is starting to meet with all his people to discuss his grand.
They're all a bunch
operation.
of what, gangsters?
Yeah,
All gangsters that he owes money to.
Yeah, yeah. They've all been bought in with a million gold, and they want his gold. And he's like, better idea. But first of all, we have Bond in his cell, and Bond just starts pacing up and down the cell, and he decides to play some parlor tricks with the guard. He comes to the door.
He basically does that walking down the stairs.
Yeah. He comes. So you got the window like this, and Bond just kind of looks at him. He goes, gives him a wink, and then he just goes. And disappears below
Because Ian Fleming spent time with a French mime. Like,
Maybe. And then the guard makes the most stupid decision and decides.
Most NPC
guard
guard
lacks
Where's he gone?
like a newborn baby lacks object permanence. As soon as he goes away, he's like, man, he's fucking not in the cell anymore. He's gone.
He goes in, opens the cell.
This windowless room. I'm gonna go open the fucking door because that's a good idea.
Yeah, so
like,
opens the door,
come on.
and then he's not there in this tiny cell, and he's like, where could he be? And then, of course, Bond fucking lands on top of him from behind. Not even with a hit, not even with a punch, just fucking lands on him, and then, like, knocks him out. Cool. So now Bond is free to start spying. For now.
Spoilers. He
Free-ish.
spends maybe 5 minutes being free, and then he's imprisoned.
Yeah, so he sneaks about and starts to spy on this meeting. And now the extras
in this.
meeting, like we
So
cut in
funny.
before as Goldfinger is just coming in with all the boys, all these like American gangster types are all hanging out, and they're all just giving it. They're all like, some lines we've got are, what is it? They're just riffing off each other. They're like,
We get the horse.
Yeah,
the
sorry,
guy on
that's
the
it.
fucking horse.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I really like that.
So basically, yeah, these extras are just fucking about
It's
in
like a
Goldfinger.
fucking bull.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
they're on
playing
like a-
on with his mate.
Yeah.
Like this grown man, and he's just like rocking back and forth on it and going,
His pal's shaking it. He's like,
These
I
are
like
meant
that.
to be formidable gangster. Like there's no reason that we should
I
like.
guess they're meant. I guess we're meant to be kind of taking the piss out of American.
They're also like
gangster
serious
stereotypes.
businessmen of some kind.
Yeah.
They were there for work.
Like
right?
honestly, it's fucking ridiculous. They're clearly just hanging out, steaming, and just fucking about with Goldfinger's stuff. And it's so fun. As you say, we just cut into those guys hanging out on this hobby horse fake thing. I like this. It's like
And
what?
they're even just like not standing
They're just like,
naturally.
hey, Goldfinger, where's our money? Hey, I got this. Hey, we got things to do. And they're all like, wah, wah, wah.
Another comparison with art imitating life for Swanny. So when the guy's like, you owe me $1 million, or you owe me $10 million, and he's like, yes. Do you want your money now, or
Times it by
do
10.
you want to have more money later? Like just trying to cut a fucking deal. If I know that was it, he goes, you owe me $1 million. He goes, I owe many of you millions. It's like,
Oh, you own $1 million. It's like, I would be like that. Would be that guy if I was a billionaire. Anyway, so he then decides, right, guys. Yeah, after these guys have calmed down from their literal horseplay, these lunatics are told about his grand plan. He basically brings up he pressed the button and the whole room changes. The pool table turns into a big map of the US gold depository, Fort Knox. And you got ridiculous lines like, hey, oh, whoa, I thought it was a pool table. Hey, what's going on here? Oh, well, they're all just fucking riffing.
What's going on?
It's just like,
what is
again,
this?
like as if like the direction has just been like, you know, make some noise, make some comments. What would you say in that situation? And they're just like, oh, look, the pool table turned into something else.
What's happening to the floor here?
Yeah, these are extras essentially just getting themselves up to the credit of featured actor.
And
That's
then
what
also
they're
the
trying
fact
to
that they all like react at the same time. Again, the same note has been given, and they've been like, right, you can't all do it, but some of you can cross your arms when he says this. And simultaneously, you see like 3 fucking
Yeah, yeah.
actors in the background at the
like-
same time go.
It was so funny because I found myself doing the exact same thing as they did it. So it must just be like an unconscious thing. Like you see someone do it, because I was like, yeah, okay. And then
But
you
it
were like,
wasn't
what are you
even
doing?
something to react to. They just
Yeah.
all did it like at the same
Yeah,
time.
they
It's
do.
fucking
I think they
spooky.
do it when he says something about the plan. Either way, Goldfinger then reveals Operation Grand Slam. It is not a tennis match, unfortunately. It is instead robbing the gold reserve at Fort Knox, which has at that time 15 billion gold, which is used to prop up the US economy. Obviously, that's in today's money. Probably close to like $1 trillion, whatever. A lot of money, and it's all in Fort Knox. Again, this is all accurate. This is all true. He's like, we're going to knock off Fort Knox, and then these guys are like, what? You got a key or something? And it's just like, oh, what a crime! And they're just fucking shut up.
Man, I'm fucking explaining it.
Meanwhile-
fucking second, right?
Meanwhile, our what?
The kind of shocking stuff you do.
What?
Interrupt us with shocking batter before we can
Yeah.
explain something to you.
Give me a minute. Give me a
I'm
second.
just all the men in this film. This is
You're all the men in this film because you grew up watching this film.
Don't, just not psychoanalyze this. This is not the Freudian podcast. This is the sorry I do. Sorry I don't. Shocking. I don't know what that was. It was like some sort of weird. I tried to do a Freudian slip
You
joke.
literally just did exactly what I just explained.
Yeah. You know what? Fair enough. Continuing on. So then basically Bond, the best spy in the world, starts to spy on these guys by literally putting his head in between the Fort Knox like little fucking
Model that's attached
and you
to
can just see
3D
his eyes
map.
looking out.
But also, like, not to cut ahead, but it's just occurred to me that, like, you know, all these guys are going to be dead in, like, you know, a few minutes. Why the fuck has he invested so much money in this fucking room that has hydraulic models coming out of the ground and shit like
Yeah.
that for the purposes of entertaining these 20 men who he's just about to fucking bump them all
Because
off?
he has more gold than sense.
I mean,
But
fair enough.
also, fucking, yeah, you're very, very right. It's very contrived. Again, that's the thing you find in Bond things. There'll be one plot, and then clearly they went, oh, that'd be cool to throw this other plot in, and then they don't quite mesh together, but they go, fuck it, it's fine. So Bond spies on them, and this is when he does one of the funniest things ever. He writes.
This is my favourite.
He writes an obscenely deep, like very uncryptic, unsecret message. It says, Bond to CIA. Goldfinger plans to
Not
rob.
even not even the code name
Yeah, it's
that
Bond.
he's been given
Yeah.
for anonymity.
Bond,
James Smith Bond III.
born in Scotland, raised in Oxford. No, but
Postcode.
it's so like it's just written.
Star sign.
No Morse code, no fucking nothing. It's just they plan to knock over Fort Knox, and we should also point out he also writes in this note, as included in the plan, that Pussy's Flying Circus are going to fly over Fort Knox, which has a military base, about 60,000 soldiers, they said, something like that, 35, can't remember, and basically gas them all with his knockout gas. And that's how the Flying Circus plays into all this. So Bond's writing all this down in a shitty little note.
Little luminous fucking post-it note.
Fucking drawn pictures,
And then one of-
symbols to illustrate.
And then one of the guys, Mr. Solo, is like, I don't want to do this. I would rather get my money. And then one of the fucking chumps goes, too big a score for you? And I'm like, yeah, man. You're trying to knock off the entirety of the wealth of the United States. That's a bit fucking too high stakes for me, man. Can we just rob a fucking bank? So he goes, I'll get my money. So Goldfinger's like, right, I'll deal with him. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Mr. Solo's going to live? Oh, is he going to die?
This is genuinely one of Bond's biggest blunders that comes up here.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to go for it?
me?
Yeah.
All right, okay, yeah. So, at this point...
You get to speak now.
So, Pussy then captures Bond. she's like, what are you doing? And she like sweeps his legs and he just falls off the little chair that I suppose he's using to look up into this map.
Yep.
And she's like, right, back to prison. But then she brings him above ground for like no reason, just to go and hang out with Goldfinger, even though he's supposed to be in jail. No fucking clue why. Like, he's not on his side at this point. So random.
And Goldfinger's like, oh, Mr. Bond, I thought you were resting in your quarters. He's like, oh, on a day like this? Nah. And you're like, right,
As if
Bond.
he's had any fucking say in the matter. If he'd been sent to bed without breakfast, he would still be sitting in that fucking jail cell.
Simultaneously at this time,
At the mercy of pussy.
Simultaneously at this time, the CIA are suddenly aware, oh shit, Bond's there. We need to go check him out. This is not going right.
Yeah.
But they're at a fucking KFC.
No, you're jumping ahead.
That is at this point.
No, you're jumping ahead.
Yeah, it's at this point.
No, you're jumping ahead.
No, because the guy's not in the car and
It's
everything.
definitely
No,
at this point.
you're jumping ahead. So no, I promise you, you're jumping ahead.
Okay.
I believe
So,
Claude.
at this point, he goes up to meet Goldfinger, brought by Pussy, and then this is when he's showing Solo out. Right? This is why they're alerted to the
Right,
fact
no,
he's
you're right,
moving.
you're right, you're
'Cause
right.
At this point,
Yeah.
he puts the tracker in Solo's pocket, and you're like, oh, brilliant, with the little note saying to CIA from Bond XX.
Yeah.
So he puts that in his pocket as well, and you're like, oh great, he's going to get the message because he's put the tracker in there, and then his wee mate's going to go and find him. Brilliant. So Oddjob takes Solo away, and it's kind of implied that he's going to take him home, and then he gets to the airport and he takes another exit, and then he's like, are you an idiot? This isn't the right exit. And then Oddjob just kind of turns around and is like, fuck you, man. Shoots him in the chest. So he dies.
And takes him to...
And then he, like, I think Abby's, like, low-key favourite part, when he takes the car with the dead Solo in it to a scrapyard, and it just shows the entire process of a car being scrapped and crushed. Like a 4-minute long
So
scene.
long.
Yeah.
And like he clearly isn't in the car.
Yeah, Claude was like, there's no body in there.
There's just not even like a jacket or like a mannequin or anything.
None.
Like an empty car, which also they're not supposed to be like full of gold and shit. Oh no, he does take away with them.
different car.
But anyway, you just watch the entire process of a car being scrapped.
Clearly,
Really slowly.
clearly the creators were very impressed by this technology. It might have been a new form of getting it that compact.
I've
Whatever. They show it
I've
all.
just had a thought that I didn't have last night. So, like, this is the car that Oddjob's driving, right? There wasn't any mobile phones at the time. So he goes to the scrapyard, scraps the car. Is he going to have to walk back?
No, he goes away in a truck, and the wee thing that gets dropped to the truck at the end. But that's why I was like,
he gets in another car. There's another car there.
so. That's why I thought, like, oh my god, like the wee thing's going to fucking explode, or like it's going to start beeping, or the CIA guys are still going to be able to follow it. Because I was like, why the fuck are we watching this? Like, honestly, so long, the entire process of a car being scrapped. I was like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
it's all gonna
We're
show
building
up.
to something.
Yeah.
There's suspense.
Maybe all job's going to get seen by the... there's going to be something.
Nah, he just drives off with it.
Drives off.
What?
And he puts it in the car and drives away with it. So... At this point,
So all the hopes of Bond contacting
everything
the
he's managed to
CIA are crushed.
Bond's life's
Within
work.
minutes of him achieving something, it's just fucked
yeah, he
again.
fucks it. And the CIA are absolutely
KFC.
the CIA are absolutely are fucking it as well, because at this point when they notice that Bond's tracker's moving, they're at a KFC. You were like, what are they doing at fucking KFC?
They're like stumbling at the door and being like, fuck, Bond's moving, better get in the car,
shit,
man.
the job.
Once again, the number of times that I have been late for something that we were somehow on time for, because Swanny's decided that there's enough time to go for a KFC.
There's
Like,
always enough
literally
time.
on the journey to Inverness and on the return from Inverness, we were late for 2 different social engagements.
Both dinners.
Dinners.
Because we got KFCs.
Because you were too hungry to wait until we got there for dinner
realise we were
and made us
getting-
late because you stopped to get a KFC. So once again, what we've learned is, well, one, that Swanny is
Every man.
but also literally qualified to be an agent of international espionage, and that international
By the
espionage
standards of Bond.
as a whole is the biggest fucking waste or mishandling of public funds I have ever
it's
seen. The
terrible.
lesson here is the British taxpayer money in the 60s going to pay for the fucking
And the CIA's.
James Bond and the CIA is fucking just spaffing money up the wall, man.
Because what happens next is they start obviously going to try, and maybe they would have got there to see the car getting crushed. You know, they might have got there. It took so long, but they, as you pointed out, Claude, they go past the same like restaurant 3 times. It's obviously they're just reusing the scenery backdrop, but it just creates this impression that they've went to KFC. They went 30 minutes out of the way for a KFC and then got fucking lost trying to get the Bond. Oh my god! And we're seeing this.
Missed that turn. He's following the tracker.
He's like, shit, fucking maps isn't working. Oh, maps is no loaded. Again, something I've done.
I feel like I'm sitting in Swanny's car right now.
So
It's stationary, so that would make sense.
They then see, wait now, it's going back towards Goldfinger. Oh, what's happening? Where's Bond? And then they show up, and this is when they then get to Goldfinger's estate. Bond has been. This is why I got confused, because this is when Bond's brought out to Goldfinger by Pussy, and they come running up to the fence. Felix gets his binoculars out, which he has, and Bond doesn't have. Not standard issue. And then
again, in Swanny style, would have been like, I'm not carrying this. These look fucking lame. These don't go with my outfit. I'm not carrying these binoculars.
They don't fit in my pocket, and it's uncomfortable. So they then go, oh my god, Bond. They look through the binoculars and they go, they see Bond like talking to Pussy, and he goes, that's my James. Looks like he's got it under control. Ambushed, guys. Back to the motel. You're like, you're ambushed. You've done nothing. You
went to KFC.
He went to KFC, got lost, didn't see the crime and murder getting committed, didn't get the secret note, didn't do any of that, came back, immediately see Bond and go, he's fine. Like, the dramatic irony is brilliant.
Compound.
And he looks fine.
He's still technically captured.
Well, he's halfway between going back to the prison cell. And they're like, he's doing
right.
He's doing it. This is classic Bond. Anyway, I'm fucking shattered from this day of fucking about. And look, as someone who spent a lot of days fucking about, driving about in cars, it is quite tiring. So I can relate to that. But he then goes. And Bond gets once again.
You wouldn't believe it, but at this point we're like so close to the end of the film. Nothing's been achieved.
You were like, there's 10 minutes left in this film.
There's 25 minutes left, and Claude was like, there's 20 minutes left. 25 minutes left. And fuck all's happened. He's done
Bond's
nothing.
achieved nothing. The CIA's achieved nothing. Fucking Goldfinger's achieved everything. All he's done is now he's up to 3 women for shagging, I guess.
Yeah. No.
No, because
he's not shagged. He's not shagged pussy yet. I hate that phrase. He's not.
It's not shagged.
Well, he has, but not
wee
not
lassie
the
man
titular.
laughing at that.
Not the titular. Bond is captured again for must be like the 20th time. Just before we get that last shot in this prison cell, though, Pussy takes him to a barn for some reason, and then her and Bond have a little tussle fight scene, and
It's playful though.
Playful fight scene, which eventually ends with her succumbing to Bond's advances, and they shag in the barn. Now, obviously, Pussy is a kind of coded gay character.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's not much that can be done with that because of the ratings and how fucking shite. Censorship, that's the word for it. But I think it's kind of communicated to us that she's probably essentially a female version of Bond with her flying
the Pussy Rangers.
The Pussy Rangers, yeah. So, and then the two of them kind of meet, and it's almost like
he's met his match.
He's met his match, yeah.
Once again, though, kind of love that for her. It's like a very. If there was ever an argument to me that this was a feminist film, Pussy's got a pretty good setup. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's only through her going, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm bi.
Yeah. To be true, to be honest though, if she is meant to be like a coded gay character, and then Bond's just like, but
yeah, it is. There's clearly a little bit of a thing there with it, but
is it bad that I wouldn't have picked up on that if you hadn't told me? Is that obvious to everyone else that she's gay?
No, I wouldn't have picked up on it.
And yeah, it's one of those things I think
it's been so talked about.
Fans have looked over and over and over. But yeah, I think it's probably just best she's just a bisexual queen. Let's go for it. Cut that out.
Wow. Jesus, man.
We'll cut that out.
No, that's going to be its own reel.
I think that's a highlight.
It's going to be like that Jennifer Lawrence, like...
This is again. This
The thing is, like,
this
see, no
is-
matter
gay
what happens,
rights.
I just want to see what Claude's face looked like when he said that.
So once again, this is a thing that I've experienced. If I hang out with people who use phrases like that, and I go, "Oh, that's fine for me to say it," and as soon as I say it, it's like, "Oh man, why did you say that?"
you can't pull that one off.
Yeah, I can't pull that one off. I can't pull off using the word bitch like quite colloquially, as we saw from the hopefully quite well edited Twilight one, where I don't call Bella.
So
bitch.
we're going to edit this out as well.
It can be kind of funny as a reference.
You can't just be like, edit out all my bitches and then be like, I say bitch all the time, by the way, and we have to edit it out in every episode.
I didn't say I said it all the time. I said it on that one podcast because you guys were saying it. Why am I talking like one of those gangsters? anyway, it was more just a meta commentary for whatever for everyone else to hear.
Right. Moving on.
Moving on swiftly. So Bond gets pussy. no.
I literally have written a note where it says Swanny has just said he's going to have to try and avoid using the word pussy too much. And I'm like, pussy's one of the characters' names. He's like, aye, but using it in a bad way.
So I think I'm doing okay, apart from that one. But basically, Bond and pussy hook up, and the implication is she's now more on the side of good than evil.
But wait. So, surely she's going to have made her mind up before now.
Well, the implication is it happens after this because they have sex, and then he gets put back to his prison cell.
I think Pilot Pussy, first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, is a stronger moral character than that.
Probably. Yeah, I think it was always her plan. Bond just happened to be, that's a bit of fun on the side.
Yeah.
While I'm actually going to save the
I
world.
think that she is the one that saved the world, because what did Bond do, man?
Well, this is the thing. So we're getting ahead of ourselves. But she basically, he's put back in his prison cell and they take no chances. He's got literally three guys holding guns at him as he sits in his bed, just looking fucking raging. And then they're like, okay, time to bring him out now. And you're thinking he's going to say something witty like, I was about to take a nap. He says fuck all. He's completely emasculated, like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And he then comes out, and this is when we get Operation Grand Slam underway. We get, like, the flying circus comes out, and they begin Operation Rockabye Baby.
Right. I was like, but before that, there's Operation, and I genuinely thought it was called Operation Betty Pies.
Operation Benny Bides is underway.
For the boying of the entirety
for the
of
boying of
Fort
the
Knox.
US military. So basically, yeah, the gas gets released. Should have said earlier, we've already seen the gas is actually more lethal. Because all those gangsters got gassed after
die.
Bond, and they all die. So we've seen that happen, and we then see it happen to all of Fort Knox as the Pussy Patrol fly over them.
Hilarious.
Pussy Rangers. Oh my god.
Sorry,
Pussy's flying
you
circus.
forgot which made up name.
Which made up name do we use? And I used the one that's worse. Classic me.
Come on, we're nearly there.
So they fly over, and then we get this ridiculous sequence of all these army soldiers really unconvincingly passing out. And also, shock, Felix Leiter and the CIA are also there for some reason, and they're also knocked out. So we're just like, wait, a few things are happening here, and they're obviously not wanting us to catch up to what's happened, because clearly the reason the CIA are there is because it's later revealed that Pussy has swapped the gas out for a non-lethal one, or one that doesn't work, and she's actually contacted the CIA and has followed the plan. Right. But we're not meant to know that then, but that's what's happened. Either way, they then break into Fort Knox, using the big laser to cut the door down, pull it apart
Yeah,
with a
the
truck.
laser finally gets pulled back
finally,
then.
yeah,
It's like,
laser gets used
right,
again.
okay.
And then this is also when Goldfinger has just revealed to Bond his real plan is not to steal all the money in Fort Knox. The real plan is to put a nuclear bomb, a dirty bomb, provided to him by the Chinese government so that it can contaminate the gold bullion supply of the United States, therefore making it inaccessible for about 60 years, so that the US economy collapses and that Goldfinger can then become the new economy and China can do really well against the US. Which is objectively a fucking ridiculous plan.
Can I also provide a minor correction here, which also just,
course.
again, so this is actually revealed before the barn scene.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Bond
it is.
learns this then, and then decides Bond 2 is like one of the only people in the entire world who's privy to this information that is going to cause like societal collapse.
Yep.
It's like, oh my god,
I'm going to go shag this bird.
I'm gonna fucking have sex with this woman now
But Bond-
and do nothing else
Bond-
with this information.
Bond saves the world through instinct alone. His instinct told him to shag her,
Bond-
and by doing it,
Bond
he
does
convinced her to
not
come to the
save
side of
the
good
world.
with his dick.
Swanny, Bond doesn't save the world.
doesn't.
Just like you don't.
It's almost the women around
Bond
me.
is just kind of insanely lucky.
Yes.
Bond is going to save himself, and if the world is saved in the process, then good. Like-
So anyway, Bond is now in Fort Knox, and he's literally handcuffed once again, handcuffed to the actual bomb itself. So again, he spends the entire finale chained up, essentially, most of it.
How dramatic was it when he was like strapped to the table? You know, it was very kind of like that looked cool. And then this time, Goldfinger's like, you know, like absolutely, what do you call that? Foil proof? What? Foolproof.
Foolproof. Foil-proof.
Foolproof.
Foil-proof.
Foolproof plan. It's just that.
What's
It's
the
just
point?
that.
You tried to have a podcast, a reasonable chat. Foil-proof. I guess it works. Foolproof. I'm just thinking foil.
I
Like
was
trick
thinking
anyway.
tinfoil hat proof. So that people
That's even worse.
Fuck
Right.
up.
Foolproof
I'm
plan.
gonna go mental. Go.
Foolproof plan is to handcuff him to this nuclear bomb
Yep.
that just looks like a laundry trolley with fuzzy cuffs. And he's like, "Yep, that'll do."
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, he'll die. So anyway, that happens, and then we don't actually get to see Goldfinger's. Well, suddenly the CIA wake up. Turns out all these soldiers that we saw falling over very unconvincingly, letting themselves down gently earlier, are all pretending. They're all pretending because Pussy has saved the day and told them all. So then they come in and they start attacking Fort Knox and killing Goldfinger's guys. Goldfinger freaks out and how it goes through, right, plan B. And this is why I really like Goldfinger as a villain, because he doesn't really get caught out too much. And he always has a weird second plan. And a lot of Bond villains do this, but he does it in a really cool way. He then dresses up as a United States general, seals the vault, locks the controls, takes the key, runs down to the US Army soldiers and says, they're in there, they're at the controls. The Army soldiers then run up and he just turns around and fucking guns them down.
Which, let's be honest,
As inspired by his mother Hubbard. He guns them down like that.
seriously, Bond could never. This guy's
does
made like
nothing like
at
that.
least 6 or 7 decisions in quick succession under pressure here, and we've not seen anything of that nature from Bond so
Bond
far.
would have just tackled someone and just
Bond's
hoped for the
tying his
best.
fucking shoelaces in the uniform.
Yeah, Bond's having a smoke at the side, like, soon. So, I'll get to it. So anyway, this is when we get a really fun sequence within the actual vault itself. Well, Goldfinger shot those guys, and then he's joined his team and tries to escape as the US Army comes in as well. And the US Army are really just like fucking shooting wildly. It's all ridiculous. But Goldfinger gets away, right? Meanwhile, inside the vault, the timer is ticking down, and one of the henchmen is trying to get out of the vault. He's like, I want to get out. And then Oddjob's like, no, we're going to die here because for some reason I'm decided I'm going to die here with us.
No reason.
And then this guy goes, Oddjob grabs the guy, and then he goes, you can be a hero, I'm not. And he's like, what do you mean you can be a hero?
of what?
Like, surely you are being the hero.
Yeah, like a hero of just dying.
Again.
It's villain speak all over again,
Yeah.
man. Why are you risking your life to
For
this guy who I guess
Looney Tunes plan.
is
Yeah.
like paying you money?
That is a Looney Tunes
perhaps.
plan.
You're throwing yourself into
is.
certain death for no financial incentive. Like what and this is when then my head started to go like maybe he has like a family that that he's been promised that if he dies in the line of fire while carrying out Operation Grand Slam, then all this money is going to go to like his sickly mother.
Wait, now. That makes sense. Because if he's Korean, they're going to be tied closer into that kind of Asian economy. And if the US economy collapses, oh my God, this is it. He's just providing for his family who are going to be made rich when the Chinese economy does better, apparently.
Well, I'm happy with that. That makes me feel a lot better about the how this is all
Listen,
resolved.
I
stop that
think
there.
all of that's bullshit. And I'll tell you why. Because surely an atomic bomb is going to kill every cunt in the vicinity. So nobody's going to
why
win
are they all
anything.
hanging about?
Goldfinger's not going to win. Bond's not going to win.
Well,
No
it's-
cunt's
I think
going to win.
well, it's not a plutonium or uranium bomb. It's an iodine bomb, which is slightly less powerful and does less damage than...
But they're all out outside. They're all outside of the room that this is happening in.
I
They're
know.
not far away.
Well, to be fair,
It's a
we got the helicopter that they come in on and stuff like that. So I think the implication is they're going to go away in the helicopter. The bomb is probably going to be contained within Fort Knox. It's a dirty bomb. Dirty bombs are more smaller. They're just to contaminate the area more than an actual, which is it's still going to be a, but it's not going to be like Hiroshima.
Okay.
Maybe. Anyway, that's the details. That whatever. We've clearly put more thought into this than Ian Fleming did. So what happens is.
They're fighting.
Yeah, Oddjob kills that guy for his ridiculous line, "You can be hero, I'm not," which is a quote that doesn't make sense in context, but totally something I would see myself shouting before dying. Like, just shouting, shouting.
Yeah, he's just being dramatic, man. He was like, see if I'm going to go out, I'm going to have my moment.
And it's like, that doesn't quite work. Okay, cool. It's like, anyway, it's a bad one-liner, but it's funny. So then Bond is looking down and he sees that Oddjob is running down to get him. He's tied to the bomb. He manages to get himself out of his manacles, and then we get the showdown with Oddjob.
Which is hilarious.
Which is hilarious and also
Which
really
also
great.
was really funny because this entire time I was watching the bomb tick down in seconds, but I couldn't see the 1 minute. So I kept being like, guy, it's been more than 20 seconds since we last got back to the bomb. It should have fucking exploded by now.
So we have a very ridiculous fight with Oddjob where we see how strong Oddjob is. Bond throws a gold bullion at him. Bounces off his chest.
Stupid.
And he's
Bond
just like
smacks him with a hammer.
smiling the entire time.
Smiling.
It's like fucking Tom and Jerry again. It's just ridiculous.
Really ridiculous. And he's just smiling the whole time. The only time that Oddjob doesn't smile is because the first thing he did, his opening gambit is always throws on the bowler hat. Bond's dodged it, and then he's thrown the bullion, the hammer, the lead pipe, and none of it's worked. And then Bond grabs the bowler hat.
And his
It's like that
his
scene
face goes from...
It's like that scene in Scary Movie where she's like running out of the door to get Ghostface out.
Yes.
And then they've got the fucking like the grenade, the gun, the banana, and she picks up the banana. This hat is the fucking banana. Like
my
it's of
God.
all these things as well. Like again, there is one weapon in play here. Why are you going to try and kill this man when an atomic bomb is ticking down seconds? Also, he's like goading him. He's really lining up this shot. He's like,
Yeah, 'cause I think the
I'm
whole...
like, man, the world's about to fucking end.
Well,
Like,
obviously, Oddjob is Oddjob would not let him defuse the bomb, so that's why he's got to fight Oddjob. But it's still like, oh my god, throw it!
yeah, do it, man.
So
It doesn't matter if you're going to
they're
kill him and then the bomb
sidestepping-
explodes.
Sidestepping, and Bond throws it, and of course he fucking misses.
Because he does nothing right.
Well, no, Claude, because you said this. You was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So then Oddjob smiles, goes over to pick up the hat, and then Bond, remembering the one thing he did successfully earlier on, leaps forward, grabs an electrical cable that Oddjob cut off earlier, shoves it against the metal bars, and Oddjob, obviously touching the metal rim of the bowler hat, is electrocuted. And apparently the actor actually got badly injured during that. He got burnt by some of the pyrotechnics, but didn't tell them because he wanted to get the shot, and he just held on for longer to get the shot and took some burns from it. So applause
Jesus.
to the actor that plays what's his name again?
It's just that
Actor that plays
everything is
Harold Sakata. Well done.
It's just everything is by chance. Once again, though,
So much of Bond is by chance.
Oddjob is like calculated in the way he's like picking him up and throwing him against walls and shit. Like he actually knows what he's doing. If he hadn't severed the wire, Bond be fucked.
Yeah.
Headless,
Did.
In the game of chance, Bond sucks at everything but is insanely lucky. And
Yeah.
Goldfinger is kind of a genius and insanely unlucky.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's a very fucking funny way of looking at it. So Bond then, you're like, right, Bond's going to save the day though. That's what we're going to do. Bond's going to save the day.
No, this is my favourite part
Yeah,
of the film.
so Bond is like, right, okay, runs over to the fucking nuclear bomb, fucking stumbles on like part of the scenery as he runs there, like fuck shit.
It's in this big fucking
got,
container
like-
which he's just fucking like
We've got like
spinning about.
Yeah, he's moving about. We've got like a minute left, right? We've got a minute, 2 minutes left till his bomb goes off. And Bond's like, he picks up 2 bits of gold, 2 gold bars. Like, okay, cool, that's a good way to break it. Fucking go at it, Bond. We've seen you being so gruff and aggressive. And he just starts
kinda
slowly
like-
fucking tapping it. They're like,
No, he's just like, also I'm like, man, there's a
short
fucking
like this.
atomic bomb
He's
in
like
there.
this.
Go and
He's got one gold bar like this, and he's got the other, and he's like trying to wedge the lock, try and break open this lock. And
He's
it's
basically just
with no urgency, no fucking urgency.
He's trying to be accurate with his blows. He's like, rather than just being like, what?
Meanwhile,
what does-
No, I'm
He's
going
like-
to argue the other case. It's a fucking atomic bomb, man. Stop hitting it with a brick. Like,
How else is he going to open it? Well, he does, because does he not eventually get the keys?
No,
he doesn't.
he
He
doesn't. Breaks it
eventually wedges it
open.
open with the fucking brick.
Meanwhile, the US government have managed to, US Army have managed to open the vault, push some of the guards in. There's a firefight now going on there. One of the guys lines a shot up in Bond. One of the CIA agents or a soldier takes him out, and it's like, right, great, they're running, but we've got like 20 seconds left. Bond's looking at this contraption, and there's such a funny shot, which I'd love to insert, of Bond just like looking at the bomb, sweating like
sweat.
fuck. There's 30 seconds left, and he's got like 40 wires, 14 buttons, like a fucking turning wheel, and he's just looking at it. He starts trying to stop the wheel. He just kind
of goes like this. He just kind of like
touches everything.
Puts his hand on the wheel like that, as if like going to stop.
We're like 15 seconds, 14 seconds. He's trying all this stuff.
Out,
10 seconds. Oh my god, bomb's going to go off. Bond's going to do it. He grabs the wires. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to pull the wires. He's just about to pull these random wires, and suddenly the hand of a CIA agent comes in, turns the bomb off. It's a switch. It's just a fucking switch. And it stops at 007. And
hilarious.
And in my mind, I always remember this being...
I quite like that.
I love that. But wouldn't it have been better if it was Bond that had done it?
Well, no, because Bond cannot achieve anything in this film.
Fair.
In order for it to be the feminist masterpiece that I think it is.
Bond is the poster child for pretty privilege and feeling sideways.
He's a himbo.
For feeling upwards. Like, let's be real. Everyone else has done everything for him, and he's just like...
Look, to be fair, in that final sequence, he has killed Oddjob, right? And there could be an argument that if he hadn't done that and he hadn't gotten the bomb open, because if he hadn't killed Oddjob, no one would have got that thing open in time.
Oh,
they wouldn't have had time
if
to turn
Bond
it off.
hadn't been the one to beat it apart with a brick, then no one else would have been capable of doing that.
By the time they got there, though, they had like 8 seconds. They wouldn't have had time. So my argument is Bond does save the world.
I think a monkey could have done what Bond did.
Yeah, but no one else did. That's what I'm saying. If Bond hadn't been there...
A monkey would have got it done
doesn't even have
faster.
the capability to see an on and off switch.
Yeah, fair. Absolutely fair. But again,
incredible.
just with the timing of everything, they would not have had time to get down there and open it and switch it off.
Like, I get your point, but fuck me, man.
I know. And in my mind as a kid, I always thought, yeah, Bond eventually gets off at the very end.
No.
And 007. No, he doesn't.
Somebody else literally has to come in and be like you can see them running. They're not running because they're worried about the mortal peril anymore. They're just like, shit.
He's going to blow us up.
Why have we left him to do that? Jesus Christ. This guy's running over. He's like, going in and
pulling all those fucking wires, man?
Stop poking it.
Oh, did he
Stop beating it with a fucking brick, man.
Oh, sorry, I fucking don't, Bond. Let's just fucking sit down. So then, bomb defused.
We're all good.
Relax. Revelation that pussy has saved the day. And
We're back on the plane.
then we get... Bond gets a fucking standing salute from like all the soldiers there. And you're like,
For doing fuck
you're like,
all. Nothing.
You did not
He has
deserve
done
that.
nothing. Where was Pussy's fucking salute? She's the one who done everything.
Well, Pussy right now has been captured by Goldfinger, who reappears on this plane that Bond thinks is chartered back to England or wherever the fuck, and Goldfinger pops out wearing still the army military uniform. That's clearly how he's got away, because no one knows what he looks like apparently. And he's gone, okay, Bond, you've interfered with my plan for the last time. I'll be in Switzerland soon, or he says he's going to be somewhere soon. I forget. Someone can correct me. And then he's like holding the gun at Bond. And he's like, now it's time for you to die. And then Bond just fucking lunges up. I don't think he says nothing cool.
No precision, no plan.
Just fucking
Just start
tackles the
wrestling for
bastard.
this gun.
Jumps on him,
And
basically.
then of course,
It's Chekhov's.
Chekhov's
If a gun goes through it.
If a bullet goes through a hull, the gun goes off, and we get the this again, another trope of Bond villains getting ridiculous deaths. And to be fair, this is probably the first overt ridiculous death, because in the first two, the first one, like the bad guy falls into boiling radioactive water, right? And yeah, his hands are weird and he can't, like, gloved metal hands, so that's why he falls. Okay, fine. But still, a relatively normal death. He dies by getting
How
smothered.
many people do you know that have died being boiled alive in radioactive water?
Okay, at least he falls into that. Second one, the guy dies by getting strangled by Bond. And then the third one, Goldfinger literally gets fucking Bobic, literally gets fucking sucked through this. That was a nickname he came up from, Bobic, at this point. He gets sucked out of a porthole window on this plane and just goes sucked out. And the window doesn't get
Into
ruined.
space.
Into space? How high was this plane flying? Like, 'cause I looked this up, right? They're saying, because stuff like this has happened, right? Decompression things can happen like this, but it's normally when the entire window at the front of the plane goes out and a pilot got sucked out, right? Terrifying story.
Where did they end up? Just floating about
No,
space?
well, he didn't die. He was hanging on the front of this plane for about 3 hours, get held on by his pals as they then landed the plane. How mental is that?
That's
it was
nuts.
too much pressure. So there is
3 hours.
like something like that, maybe like an hour, but like a long
while.
time. But either way, the point is, it could potentially happen, but again, it would have to be an entire huge section of the plane breaking off at once.
One gunshot.
One gunshot on a window does not do that.
Also, I really think that he meant to shoot Goldfinger and again has just slipped.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking missed.
Yeah, look,
Like-
he's definitely killed him, but it was not the way he
plane.
intended.
No.
So
Fuck
they
the
got-
plane, endangered everyone else's lives.
Yep.
Almost got pussy.
Fucking pussy, first female president of the United States of America.
So yeah, she's strapped to the pilot seat, but is like tied up, and the plane starts going into a nosedive, and then she's like, "Where's Goldfinger?" And he goes, "Playing his golden harp." Playing his golden harp.
We've got time for that.
We've got time for
Shit
that.
passer. Like, you know what I mean?
And then-
if that's the last joke you're ever going to fuck it, if that's the last joke I've ever heard before I died from him, I would just be extra raging.
Just
Not only have
fucking
you
throws up.
basically killed me, like, what? That's not even funny. That's even a little bit
It
funny.
wasn't great, but
Not your best.
Not your best.
Those would be my final words. I'd be like, 3.
no, you're best, Bond. That's exactly how
Noel
that's
Weathers.
exactly how we die. That's exactly how we die. I'd be like, oh yeah. You're like, where's the villain? Where's the horrible man? Where's Goldfinger? I'd be like, I'm playing his golden harp. You're like, 3, Swanny.
That was a 3, mate.
So they go come crashing down, and then just the last minute, the CIA MI6 are watching it on a radar, and we see a little blip going out. You guys didn't notice this at first because you were like, wait, no, they're just fucking dead? Because it was so quickly cut, blow up. But of course not. They've got out on the ejector seat that Bond perfected earlier. And brilliant, right? And then it ends with a helicopter looking for them in the tree line, and Bond and Pussy's waving, and then Bond grabs her down and is like, there's no time to be rescued, and then throws the big tarpaulin parachute over them. They have sex. The end of the film. Credits roll.
And
And Bond fucking stumbled his way through his mission.
so, just to take stock, he gets captured. I can't even count it, like 12, 14, 20 times. Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
It ends definitely 3/4 of the film captured. Shags, 3 women, I guess.
Yep.
He kind of beats a fucking atomic bomb open with a brick. He kills 2 guys. One guy who's nameless and non-existent to the plot at the beginning, and odd job, and that is
And Goldfinger. Kills Goldfinger.
inadvertently.
Yeah, but
He
that's
doesn't try.
That would. He did try. He just didn't kill him the way he wanted to. But if Bond
Okay,
had done
fair,
that,
fair.
Goldfinger wouldn't have died.
Fair.
Do we see Pussy Galore in any future films?
No, of course not.
So,
Of course not.
the last time we see Pussy Galore, she falls out of a plane onto a deserted island.
Well,
Well,
Bond.
they're near Fort Knox.
Okay.
I'm assuming they're. Well, I don't actually know where the fuck they are.
just-
Basically, there's an argument to be made that Bond. Look, there's an argument to be made that Bond couldn't have done it alone, but also Pussy wouldn't have done it alone because the only reason he changed his mind is because of Bond, apparently. Because you got that ridiculous line. Turns out Pussy phoned ahead. So he must have got through to her, and he goes, "I must have appealed to her maternal instinct."
I
which is
forgot
like-
about that.
Which is that
Disgusting.
fucking line.
So,
He really goes downhill with his
shall
jokes.
we go through our reviews?
Yeah. Well, do you want to do reviews first before we do a rating, yeah? For our own personal
Yeah,
rating.
rating. Sorry.
Do you want to do a rating first, or do you want to go through what some
Rating,
critics
rating.
said?
I don't know.
What did
Do
we say
the
last-
critics first, we'll end on the rating.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
okay.
Cool. So, there's not too many, but there were some fun quotes that I found. So obviously this was the first Bond film that really became a box office smash. Like the other ones had done really well, but this one was like for its time, one of the bigger films of its year, and really just cemented everything together. As I say, all the elements kind of come in. It's like immediate, it's arresting, it's funny, it's ridiculous, it's bombastic, it's action, it's got memorable villains, lines, etc. So reviews at the time were pretty positive towards it. So we got one here. Tell me if you agree with this. Derek Prowse of the Sunday Times, he said that Goldfinger was superbly engineered. It is fast, it is the most entertainingly preposterous, and it is exciting. I think we agree with that.
It is certainly preposterous.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to describe any film as preposterous, it would be Goldfinger.
Yep.
The audacity of this film.
How do we feel about this idea of superbly engineered? Because I think, as silly as it is, and there's obviously
At the time, I imagine it was.
yeah, it doesn't stand up to logic. But again, logic in film is kind of a thing that's
Yeah, I don't care about that.
yeah. They're
Like, it pioneered that whole trope.
in that genre of action, of silly action films.
Silly action films, absolutely ridiculous Looney Tunes-esque plot
Yeah.
lines. No. Yeah.
And if it's silly, there's more for us to sit and rip. And that is a lot of my viewing pleasure when I'm watching things in a group of people. Is being able to
I couldn't
make
do
fun
that
of it.
with like Skyfall. It's too good and then too boring.
Yeah, too serious. Take contention with the boring, but we'll swiftly move on from that. So we're saying it's exciting. It is
It's
exciting.
exciting.
Like
Yeah.
there's so much going on with that. We also have from the Times. They were saying all the devices are infinitely sophisticated, and so is the film. The tradition of self-mockery continues, though at times it overreaches itself. What do we think about that? Do we think it takes the piss out of itself too much? Or do you think? Well, you may be making the argument that it would have been worse if it was more serious.
Yes. It would
Yeah.
have been worse because for me,
Yeah.
I've seen that I just don't feel that it's its own thing as much because all these films, once they get too serious and take themselves too seriously, start to meld in with one another.
totally.
Like Superman, Batman, and then Bond, and they're all like
Well, Jason Bourne was a huge influence on the Daniel Craig ones as well, which were obviously very serious, capable
the same
killers.
guy. They're all just these kind of little jaded, really sad, like damaged men going through like saving the world.
Totally.
And if you can't take the piss out yourself, then I'm just like, I don't want to see another film.
The one thing I would say
of this,
about Bond in that, though,
boring guy, like, oh, I'm so sad.
the one thing I say about Bond in that, and there's a thing that some people were annoyed at with Skyfall, etc., was that he still did his one-liners and still did his quips. They were like, well, no, he's meant to be serious and he just witnessed someone die.
You need the quips.
You need the quips because Bond uses them as a defense mechanism. He uses, in the other ones he does it because he's fucking hilarious and he's just a fucking lad. But in later ones he uses it as a defense mechanism against feeling sad, which is so lame, but also so true. But again, it differentiates him from someone like Batman, someone like Jason Bourne, all these other ones who would just do all their things really efficiently and then not say anything and then be like, oh, sad.
Yeah.
Bond at least goes, women that he, kind of fell for a bit, gets shot. He goes, he's got like, listen to Skyfall with the fucking whiskey on her head and she gets shot. And then he's having a bad time. He's like, what do you think of that? And he goes, wasted good scotch, and then kills them all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People were like, oh, that's really egregious. And I'm like, no, he uses humour to take command of situations.
To cope.
Whereas Bond, to cope. Whereas Bond in the old ones just fucking makes jokes to boy people and trying to emasculate
Bond in
them.
the old one has been waiting to say that all day.
Yeah, he's got a plant like me. I've got a joke, I'll use it later. I can't wait till they come in and do something. There's the joke. But yeah, so do we agree with that kind of thing? Like, do we think it gets
I don't
too
know. Look,
preposterous?
I think it has to be self-aware in order to make fun of itself, and I don't know if it is yet.
You don't think it's too self-aware at that point?
Well, like I just think because it's like, like you said, it's establishing a lot of the tropes
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So it can't really be parodying itself without.
I get what you're
been
saying.
two films already.
I wouldn't say it's parodying, but basically what the first two films are a bit more serious. They have little jokey points, but they're a bit more serious at points. But from Goldfinger onwards, they really just start upping how ridiculous they are.
Maybe it's difficult for me to like say
Yeah.
without having the context of having seen the other films.
Yeah, fair. The Guardian summed it up with saying it was 2 hours of unmissable fantasy.
It was an hour and a half, but yeah.
yeah, hour 40.
I
Hour
was
40.
like, the Guardian's wrong.
Mate,
but-
no, I was timing it because I was like, how the fuck is he going to sort the world out in this amount of time? 2 hours might have been enough. An hour and a half definitely wasn't.
So was it the New York Times were a bit less enthusiastic at the time? They were saying it was tediously apparent that Bond was becoming increasingly reliant on gadgets with less emphasis on the lush temptations of voluptuous females.
What? All he does is shag.
Yeah, what the fuck kind of film was he watching? It's got more. He uses gadgets. He has 2 fucking tracking devices that he fucks up with.
That's
And
a
his car.
bullshit review.
Yeah.
That
Good.
person just didn't like the ejector seat.
Yeah, he didn't like the injector seat.
Exactly.
But also, I think at the time as well, you're seeing these people that maybe have criticisms liked it when it was a bit more serious in From Russia with Love. They liked the books, which are still silly and light and pulpy.
Fair enough, but say that then. Don't be like, he doesn't shag enough women in it. Everything that happens in it is because he's shagging women.
Yeah, it's a very ridiculous review.
He fucks up Goldfinger by shagging a woman. He shags pussy galore and saved the world. Like, how much more women do you want him to shag?
So Roger Ebert also said that this was his favourite Bond film. So
Okay.
Roger Ebert, established writer, biggest critic in the world at the time, and has such a legacy. He has put it in his great movies list and says it's his favourite Bond film. You can see why people would maybe put it as their favourite Bond film, because it is...
feels quintessential.
Yes. And it sets
that's
up everything.
For me not knowing what is quintessential.
Yes.
But guessing this feels quintessential.
Yeah, like you couldn't... Like, so much of what makes Skyfall work as well comes from Goldfinger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much of what makes Bond, I guess, still relevant is the fact that the impact that Goldfinger had on the action film genre in general. And it's just kind of been this feedback loop. And you made a really good point about Goldfinger. You were like, it seems like an homogenization of all the adult films at the time,
Yeah.
but then just without any of the depth or nuance, or
Yeah.
which I think is a very cool take of it as well, because it is definitely very, very poppy.
Yeah.
So that's really, there was not too many more interesting quotes that I could find that you go into it. They were all just kind of either, we loved it because it was fucking silly. That was the thing I noticed. Every single one of the reviews, which I never noticed when I was younger, are saying this film is preposterous and it works because of that. Because when I watched this when I was younger,
You were like,
I thought it was a lot more
bought
serious.
into the whole thing and being
Let's
like,
what-
yeah, this is really kind of, cool.
Yeah, because Bond films, as you also pointed out last night, Abby, are... they essentially feel like they've been written by a bunch of wee boys
Yeah.
who are just like, and then this happens, and we're actually going to be robbing Fort Knox and get all the money of the world, but actually we're going to, I saw, my dad said the Chinese government would want to bomb things, so we're actually going to put a bomb in there, and then collapse the, and then the guy will have a bowler hat.
And then
with
everyone's
razor
going to say
blades.
a woman called Pussy.
Pussy, because it's a cat, but also, Do you know, it feels like that. And as a wee boy who did play Bond games, I was always the villain, of course, and sometimes Bond, but usually my friend Lewis. We were all on the street just playing fucking gun games, pretending to make up Bond films.
Good shout out to Lewis, man.
Shout out to his family.
No.
Again.
They let us play Bond in his back garden. Thanks, Lewis's mum and dad.
Can we move on?
Yeah, we can. Oh, there's the camera. That's where the camera's been there the whole time.
Where have you been looking?
Nowhere. Fucking nowhere. So,
So, can we move on to our
yeah.
Our
So personal
ratings.
scores. I'm a big Bond fan, but even I would admit there's not been a single 10 out of 10 Bond film. There's not been. Skyfall or some other ones are maybe close to kind of veer towards higher numbers. Goldfinger for me, there's a lot of up and down with the whole the scoring system for them. Again, it's like Star Wars. It's a series without a 10 out of 10. But Goldfinger for me, I think, is that perfect level of establishing all these different tropes, also being really fun, very accessible, very memorable, and it just works with this balance of hokey, spy, espionage. And I think it kind of almost elevates itself a little bit beyond some of the other ones because of just how consistently on point it is with what it's trying to do. For that reason, I'm going to give it a pretty high rating of an 8 out of 10. And it's up there as one of my top 10 Bond films.
Okay.
Almost in the top 5. Depends on the time you ask me. Probably number 6 or 7, something like that.
So, I went into it thinking that it was going to be another low score. Very kind of low expectations one. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh,
I know, you showed up,
Bond,
fucking...
really?
she showed up and I was sitting playing Bond themes. I had all my DVDs out, I had all my props out, and she was just
right.
like, I'm fucking shattered. It's so cold. What's that? Right. And I was like, I hope this goes well.
So my expectations were exceeded completely because I thought it was going to be overly serious, extremely masculine, ridiculous. But the point that I've taken away from it is that Bond assumes the role of your average woman in a film. He's just there to look hot and get information out of people by shagging them, which is what, women tend to be in films like Bond films.
Yeah.
So, like I've been saying the entire time, it is extremely feminist. That's my take
Because Bond's a fucking idiot.
on Goldfinger. Because he's just
Himbo
like
butt.
a wee bimbo. And then he gets Pussy Galore, whose name is literally Pussy Galore, to go and sort everything out for him. Other than that, it was just extremely hokey, ridiculous, really funny at points, and I just loved the kind of 60s vibe of it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the fact that it does set up for all the kind of Bond tropes. And one of my favourite film series as well is Kingsman. And you can see that everything that happens in Kingsman was completely inspired by Goldfinger, to be honest.
totally.
Like, to the plane and the sitting drinking whiskey and the sleight of hand and stuff like that.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Even the church scene with the mind control and the
yeah,
gas and air gas,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that's like one of my favourite films of all time. So I kind of have to naturally love that as well because that's where the inspirations clearly come from. So I gave it a 7.
7 out of 10.
Surprisingly, I thought it'd be
Surprisingly.
like a fucking 3.
I might cry.
It's amazing.
I might cry. Never expected this to happen.
I did.
What?
Oh no, you mean Claude's rating?
Yeah,
I thought you
Claude's
meant
rating.
you crying. I was like,
No, that of course is going to happen. No, but yeah, I think that's a very cool way of looking at it. Again, I was very surprised watching it about how fucking silly it all was again. Because I always knew it was, but I've not seen this film in a few years.
Abby's turn.
And it was, yeah.
You've
So no,
got-
I'm just very happy about your rating. That's all I want to say. I was going to say
Oh,
something
glad.
you can
nice.
cry quietly in the
I was
corner while I
gonna-
speak.
I was going to say something fucking nice and meaningful, but you know what?
Mate,
Fuck,
shut up.
fuck you guys. On you go.
Right. Look, the viewing experience of this film, I had a fucking good time watching it with you guys. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed laughing at it. I agree with most of the points that you've made. Enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Well, just in terms of like about pussy, basically.
I talked about pussy a lot.
Rob been talking about pussy all night.
I'm always talking.
Molly's
No,
favourite word.
stop myself. I could feel a terrible joke coming out there and I stopped myself. Abby, please keep talking. That wasn't me pleading to stop me, save me from me.
Right.
That wasn't a keep
Right.
talking, Abby. Jesus, that was a
No, I know.
Shut
I
me
know
up.
it was.
no. I know. I'm just
Right.
Let the women speak now.
What was I saying? Give me a minute. Right, no, I enjoyed watching it with you guys. Would I watch it again? Probably not. Like on my own. I really love hokey, silly, cheesy films. So I feel as if like that in itself is not enough of an appeal to me. Do you know what I mean? It's what made it watchable for me. It's what made it enjoyable for me because it's the old, you know, I said like you can tell the first opening scene is clearly filmed in a soundstage and like the obvious green screen. I just love all this sort of shit like about films from that time period. I like that it doesn't feel like real life. I like that the characters are ridiculous, but I like all my favorite films have elements of that in it and I like them more than I like this, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like it just isn't like enough to push it into the bracket of like, you know, a higher scoring thing for me.
totally.
Also, I love mysteries and murder mysteries, and I used to read loads of books when I was a kid about being a spy or being a detective. And like I was thinking about this in reflection today. I was like, there wasn't really enough like suspense in terms of like wanting the mystery to unfold for me. There wasn't really like, I mean, I guess it's probably because you don't really get the sense that Bond cares or is like trying to uncover a mystery of any kind. Goldfinger just tells him what's happening at some points. So for a spy film, for me, I wanted there to be more spying.
Yeah, more espionage.
More espionage, more intrigue, more
Less just
mystery.
like throwing a gold brick on the floor in front of the main villain
Yeah.
and being like,
I think
here's
again,
my
I am
bargaining
Bond.
chip.
Like, do you know what I mean?
that is kind of the. I guess that's kind of the charm of Bond is that you think he's going to be this super like
Yeah.
secret agent, and he's just like I'm
It's
Bond.
not the spy film for a Nancy Drew fan. It's the
No.
spy film for Swanny. And like that's
wee
fine.
boy.
For a wee boy.
It's for a wee boy. And like but not for a wee boy. But you know what I mean? That's
totally.
who you can see it appealing to. It's not for me who wants it to be like a murder mystery with
Yes.
layers and clues and characters and things. It's not that. But I enjoyed it and I enjoyed Pussy and yeah, I think I said last night it was a 5. I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay,
I just don't feel like it's in the 7, 8, 9, 10 bracket for me. But I did enjoy watching it. I had a great time watching it with you guys. Would I watch it again? Would I show it to someone else? Would I put it on if I was feeling sad? Probably
Yeah,
not.
it's not
I've
one of
got
those
other
films.
things that achieve that for me.
Yeah,
That's not
so
this
it's like
film.
Twilight. You'd put Twilight on for if it's something easy romp. You'd put Twilight on.
Yeah.
I'd maybe put like Goldfinger or
Yeah.
a Bond film on. Probably another one because I've seen Goldfinger more than
Yeah,
most
I
of them.
enjoyed it. But the one thing I would say as well, though, is that like in the sense that it's a quintessential Bond and it's considered one of the best, I sat and I was like, oh, this is good. This is all right. And I was like, are the rest of them worse than this then?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm a
but then
huge
I genuinely might
You
enjoy
might
that
like that
more.
Do
I
you
don't know. I'd be intrigued to
I'm
find
very
out.
intrigued to find.
Yeah.
I'm going to, based on what you've said about what you maybe want from one, I'm going to, if we ever do another Bond film, I'm going to try and have a look through the annals and work out which would be
Okay.
the one for Abby.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But yeah, a 6 from me for Bond.
Nice.
Cool.
And do we think it lives up to the the kind of idea of like it's so ridiculous. What was it again? Ridiculous and
Ridiculous and amazing.
do we think it kind of hits that spot at points? Ridiculous and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The play suit already within the first opening 5 minutes. Ridiculous and amazing. That's it. I'm done.
But yeah. So yeah, you can totally see how that would set up so much of what we have in cinema nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to finish us off?
What else are we going to do?
Just say
That's-
goodbye. And round it
that's
up.
All right, perfect, guys. So, if we've got nothing else to say, I think I've covered everything I've got to say. Again, more than most.
So, okay, are we all done then?
We're all done.